So he cooks and he's like, here, try it. And she takes a bite of it and she's like,
oh, I forgot
that's so good. And then he says, that's not how I imagined making you come for the first time. And then she's like, first time. When you're reading the Kindle version, it's like 40,000 people have highlighted that. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, Unresolved Textual Tension, White Woman Hour. Today I'm with Katie and Lindbergh, all the blonde bitches in the house.
We should have wore pink, but we're all wearing black! Wait, that works out, never mind.
We're vampy
because today we read Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent.
Broadbent has to be a pseudonym, right?
It has to.
That's a fair point. I didn't actually look at the author's name at all.
Do you know Broadbent? You know?
Yeah, no, I got it. I got that. That perhaps might be, but yes. No, today, like you said, we are doing The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Broadbent, as was the discussion moniker that we just got a little trailed off on. And Lindbergh, what if we were to give a brief summation of what this is, like if somebody were walking down a book aisle and they're like, I'm just looking for something, what's a good little elevator pitch of an idea, what would you say this is about?
Well, it's going to be very brief then, because this book really doesn't have that much plot. It's about a dystopian world, fantasy world, where vampires are the overlords of the human population. We start in the beginning where the vampire broody king, Vincent, has just put down an uprising, and in the wreckage of a home he finds a little girl that is very angry with him. And she bites his finger and he's like, ooh, I like that.
It's not sexy.
Not in a weird way. Totally not in a weird way. He just wants to adopt her, guys. It'll be okay. So he takes her back to his castle in the vampire kingdom, and she grows up and he raises her as his daughter. And now Aurea, as her name is going to enter a tournament in the honor of their vampire goddess, where the victor in the end can ask a favor of the goddess.
That's a pretty solid...
It's a good solid premise.
Yeah, that was actually really clean. So if you're interested in reading it and don't want to hear our thoughts on it, now's your time to escape, because otherwise you're going to... you'll heal... I feel like there's going to be some parts, especially with Valerie and Lindbergh, that are like, but these are like the good trashy parts. And I'll be like, yes. No, that's fair. But also, I'm angry because... I don't know. Guys, I think I might be a little dried up for horny plot lines. Like, I feel like I have no patience for this one. I'm just like, dude, there's so many cool things that you kind of like. Okay.
Yeah, so give us your main thoughts. We'll all go around and say how we felt about it. You can start, Katie.
I feel like everything I just said already premised the majority of my feelings. But in essence, I'm just... exhausted. I guess exhausted. It's because my biggest thing with this book is that it feels like she speeds through so many things so quickly just to get to romance scenes, but then those are also really fast, and it's obviously all pointing towards, everything that's going on is pointing towards certain specific interactions to build up a relationship between the love interest and our protagonist. But then at the same time, all of those points are super shallow and none of them are explored at all. And it's like, why did you even world build if you didn't even give us the world? It's like she wanted to make something new and then was like, but I could also just make this and get, like, I don't know. I can't say make a quick buck because authors don't get paid that much. So, like, I feel like I just don't understand what happened. I feel like everything's just a hollow echo of itself. But anyway, that's me. Sorry. Valerie, why don't you go ahead?
I read this book a while ago. The passage of time continues to elude me. But I liked it. I read it with horny blinders on, though. I was like, I like vampires. I think they're sexy. I'm trash. I'm vampire trash. I've got my I've got my Twilight brand.
Oh my god!
Lip gloss on today. I love a horny good time sometimes. This is not a good book. It's reading it this time. I was trying to actually think out the world building stuff. I was like, oh, this is really stupid. Like, the first time I thought, like, the goddess stuff was actually kind of interesting. And I still did a little bit this time. There's, like, the bones of something kind of interesting there. But it's just not fleshed out at all. It is paper thin. And, you just, like, you start thinking about the internal logic of the world at all, and it just sort of crumbles. And I'm like, yep, you read this to be a little horny and have fun. That's pretty much it. And it's weird how much she tried to make the world building work. But, yeah, I didn't like it. It's not a good book. I liked it the first time. I had fun. But I'm ready to clown on it. Let's go. Wimberg, what were your thoughts?
I was just scrolling through our conversation because I wanted the exact words with which you catfished me into reading this book. It was something along the lines of, "Hey Lindbergh, do you want to read a really dumb, horny book with me so we can roast it?" And I was like, which one could that possibly be? Serpent and Wings and Night. And incidentally, this book has been in my TBR for years because I read the synopsis of it when it was released, and I saw that all the stars, it has many stars on Goodreads, everybody loves it, and I thought that, vampires are kind of hard. I used to be a real emo girly, like, I could probably be seduced into liking this, so I was like, yeah, let's do it, it's gonna be great. And let's just say that it was very horny.
But also not at the same time, which is so weird. She took so long getting to the romance points that it's like, dude, what do you want? Did you want a Dragon Actually plotline where it's the least amount of steps to get from position A to position B? Or is it going to be, we have a whole drama, Shakespearean drama happening, and we're going to commit to the emotional, like, points that it's going to happen? No, neither. We're just waffling.
We're doing a little bit of each. It's so weird. And I know I said that I was going to picture our love interest as Asterion for this entire book, but I
can't. He's
because the way he is he's described as this huge, super burly, kind of wild-haired, long-haired
He's described
man.
as a wall of a man, like at least 3 times.
Yeah, and my brain gave me Fabio. You know, the guy from all those old romance novels back in the Morris Rippers from the Fabio. That's who I've been seeing in my mind.
Well, he's described as, okay, so just as a quick, like, character role, right? So, so far what we've just begun describing is our main love interest, Rain, but not spelled
with
Rain.
An H.
Yeah, with an H.
Where's the H?
I'm not sure an audiobook version, but I'm sure it's very creatively placed.
It's Raheen or something like that.
If his name actually was Raheen, I would be far more okay with that than Rain.
That's a way better name. What the heck?
The H is thrown in just vicariously enough to suggest that maybe these people aren't the pastiest, most white vampires ever. On page.
We've got vaguely ethnic love interest. Check.
There's okay. I'm going to at some point pitch whatever. I've already pitched this to the ladies, but to many more of you, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to pitch my version of these characters and events to some degree. But yeah, no. So we've got Rain, not Raheen, and he is a redhead. As Valerie said, like a wall built, super thick, super manly, rough around the edges, a little bit like, he doesn't even look like a vampire. He looks like a rough human. Think, the Rohirrim instead of the elves. Whatever, elf.
The Hulk instead of Captain America.
We've got him, and he's one type of vampire, because there are 2 types of vampires in this world, correct?
I think so. They have different houses, but I think there's just 2 types with the wings.
Yeah.
There's 2 types of vampires. There are the Bloodborne and
no. It's the and then there's also the Rishon and
yes.
It starts with an H. It's whatever Shadow Father is versus whatever Rain is.
This vampire kingdom is run by 2 different clans, and there was an overtaking, and now the Vincent, the Shadow Daddy's clan, is running the country.
Shadow Father.
Sorry, I had to stop calling him daddy.
It's important to notate because it is not a daddy. It is indeed a father, even though it was completely unjustified. So we do have our love interest, who is one type of vampire. He's the vampire. All you need to know, these 2 vampires, one has bat wings, one or demon wings, I guess, if you will.
That's pretty much the difference. And they hate each other, though.
One has feathered wings, so it's more like the fallen angel, Lucifer vibe. And, like super sexy, because feathers versus skin. I'm sure there's like... Anyway, the wings are a whole thing. But anyway, love interest is one. She is neither. She is human, as Lindbergh premised. Shadow Father, who is her adoptive father, is bat-winged version of them. And they live, the society is like split amongst several clans, as Lindbergh was listing before. Was it the Blood something clan?
The House of Blood, the Bloodborns, I think they're the same thing.
House of Blood.
Different houses running different regions in the world and sort of keeping humans enslaved as pets and food.
Kind of, but they like also live in the city. I don't know why they're not just literally cattle. Like,
was there human kingdoms? I think we mentioned human kingdoms as well.
They sort of live in the outskirts of this city.
It doesn't really like expand on that idea.
Let's just admit it, guys. The world building is so flimsy here that, the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Oh my god, what a great reference. Yes, exactly. That is the way this book rides this whole way through. So we have just so that you have a bit of a world premise, as we were saying, you got 2 major species of vampires, bat and feather. And then you've got like several different, houses: House of Blood, House of Night, House of Shadow, or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe another one, I don't recall. But the point is again, as Lindbergh said, none of this really matters. None of this comes into play, so it's very easily forgettable, despite the fact that it seems very important at all times.
Pretend they're aristocratic families that hate each other and live in their separate houses, just, trying to bitch with each other.
There is a trope that is highly, highly, highly catered to in this story, which is that vampires are sensual beings, that they like to have coitus very frequently, that they are bloodthirsty and can't control themselves in a bloodlust, that they would sooner rip apart parts of their family than allow them to inherit any power or to overcome them in any way when it comes to authority. And so really, this whole society is built on literal chaos, bloodshed, and betrayal, and I'm not sure how it actually functions.
Dionysian hedonism gone wild.
But you guys are focusing too much on the world building. We need to get into the plot, because the world building doesn't matter. We don't care about that. We're here for...
I do, though. But yes,
I know, and we will talk about it, but we should get into it as we go through the plot.
So that's like the general premise anyway, as far as world needs to know, you get through exposition stuff. So which one of you 2 ladies wants to start us off with the plot, Ree?
I feel like Lindbergh has the most, brain function.
Not bumblebees in her brain?
Yes, exactly.
That's what I was thinking.
I feel honored. Thank you. Let me take this. Okay, so 20 or something years has passed since Vincent, the big shadow father, the king with the bat wings, found his little daughter in the ruins of a house after he put down this uprising. And she is now in her early 20s, and all through her life, he has been training her. He's been training her with blades, because, it's not a romantasy unless we have a knife-wielding...
Dual-wielding.
Girl boss. Dual-wielding girl boss. So he has been training her all his life, and now the time is coming up for a tournament.
What's it called again? The moon gauntlet? The something gauntlet? I don't know.
Yeah, it's 4 trials in honor of their goddess.
There you go. Yeah.
And it only happens every 100 years. And Oriah, who is our main protagonist, she is going to enter, even though she's a human and all the other contestants are going to be vampires, and she's probably going to die, but, she has the bestest, super coolest father who's been training her, so she's got a fighting chance.
Underdog story.
Everyone's going to underestimate her, and she's going to kill them.
It's the Hunger Games. It's the Thirsty Games. It's the Thirsty Games, in more ways than one.
It actually is a la Savior's Champion a little bit, as I said before. It really isn't.
Yeah.
There really isn't, but they also have Coliseum games. So
it's so dumb, but yeah, literally the Hunger Games, pretty much.
Yes, and the victor gets to ask their goddess for a favor, which she usually grants. So the idea is that Oraya will ask for a Coriate, which is a bond that will link her to her father magically, so he will get to take part of her power and she will get to partake of his power, which means that she will transcend humanity and become a vampire, essentially, because she thinks that being human is a flaw.
My first question begins here. So I would really actually love to know, and I thought this was going to be answered at some point, but it didn't matter in the end, as we'll, at some point we'll address, but does she actually become a vampire then? Is there magic? Because there is magic in this world, which gets...
Oh, that's so confusing. We're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to have to.
There's like Stardust magic and just magic, and then there's like a whole D&D level of like different gods and goddesses that grant powers to not mostly vampires, because vampires like have the one... It's so complicated. Again, this is why I started off with the world building.
You could tell the author was like getting really excited about the world building, but she just didn't follow through on any of it. She was like, this is a cool idea, this is a cool idea, this is a cool idea, and then just left it there.
She is me back when I was writing fan fiction. She's like, oh, I just thought of this cool plot line and I'm going to bring it up into the book, and then later on we're going to make it fit together. We're going to make it fit together, guys.
My question was, though, is there vampire magic that makes her physically, like, will she have fangs? Does she have wings then? Or is she a weird, like...
Well, we'll get to it at the end, because that's when it becomes kind of relevant, right?
I assumed that the goddess would magic her into a vampire, so that she was a vampire as if she had been born vampire, and not as if she had been turned into a vampire.
I think she would just be kind of sharing the power with her father, or shadow father guy, so she would essentially be a vampire as well. They would share the same power, and she'd have some kind of agency in the world at long last, instead of being sad little girl hidden in a room.
Which is a whole other thing. In fact, this is a good intro into the first scene we have. What is she doing, Lindbergh, in this first scene?
She is out on town, girl bossing. She's stalking through the shadows, and she's really pissed off. Like, oh, I hate these vampires. They be preying on the humans because they have human districts where humans live in squalor and do basically nothing but that. They live in squalor, and at night the vampires get really drunk and bored, and they go there to, have fun with humans. We're not going to say what they do to the humans because it's early on in the video, but bad things, and then they drain them. So Oraya has taken it as her little hobby. Girls need hobbies.
Girls do need hobbies.
Troll through the streets and murder vampires, because remember, she is badass. So in the beginning scene, she calls up on this young Ponzi vampire who's like, oh, you'll never be able to kill me. And then she kills him. There was something about a brother as well. Did she kill two brothers?
Later on, I think she kills one. The thing is, though, is like this is like a classic early 2000s, late 90s, like underworld beginning scene where you get her, like, you don't get a lot of physical description of the city. You literally get, I'm imagining Minecraft cities as the human squalor.
I was thinking, like, I really have no sense of what this place looks like or how far apart anything is. Like, the logistics of, like, the physical places we inhabit, part of it is because once we get to the tournament, like, the whole building just changes willy-nilly, like, so that's part of it. But, like, I have no grounding sense of what this place is looks like.
The whole book is kind of like an opium dream. I kept picturing Agrabah from the Aladdin, the Disney Aladdin. That's the city I imagined that humans were living in, like sandstone, low squatting buildings, and yeah. So that's my headcanon.
Well, you know what I kind of was picturing is I feel like what the author wanted, do you remember the novel, Will, Maria, and I did, what was it called? The Stardust one or whatever?
Stardust Thief.
I hated that book. That was so bad.
But the point is that's what I was kind of picturing, is that kind of environment where you're like, kind of like in a desert region, because it is described as a desert. And I thought that was really cool as far as like vampires go, because the only other desert vampire stuff I've ever seen is, for example, in like old like, it wasn't even desert, it was just like really old stuff, is what's her face from Queen of the Damned, and then combo that with like any of the Castlevania like season, or what, not Castlevania season, Castlevania, you know, the newer seasons with Richter and everything. Like, I was picturing like there's a bad guy chick lady and she's like from old Egypt and stuff, and so you only get like these little fleeting glances of really cool like vampire, like I don't want to say Middle Eastern, but just like as a blanket statement of like desert regions, and we don't get that very often, and it would have been really cool, and it seemed like it was something she was banking on to really like take some unique identity for her novel, because she highlights it every now and again, like repeatedly, but in the same ways and uncreatively.
Vaguely Ottoman Empire, sort of, but we never say it. We just throw in a few ages in everyone's names.
So she's like, you know, we get this like goth, honestly, kind of scene where she's like killing vampires for like sport. And then she goes and she scrabbles up back to her rich vampire person area.
Because she scales walls.
Yes, she scales walls for fun. So again, another like street rat, don't I take that? And so she goes into this it's her friend, and her friend is a blood donor in the High Vampire Society. I can't remember her name. What was her name?
Ilana. Yeah,
Ilana,
a blood vendor is what they call them, which are, it's basically like blood prostitutes. Like
she's a blood prostitute.
And her room is described as like heavy carpeted, like very like Russian vibe-y almost, in a weird way, and the way her hair is like described as like towering on her head. She's smoking a cigarillo, and you find out that oh my god, wow, I literally just deleted her name from my Ilana, thank you. You find out that Ilana is like the only friend that our protagonist
human
has.
Friend or any friend,
yeah, like any friend at all, which is wild to me, because I'll leave that for now. But anyway, so she goes in there and she, exposition-wise, basically is just like, wow, this Ilana's very important to me, reader. You're supposed to know that she's very important to me emotionally. Ilana, you better leave town before this Colosseum thing event happens, because you could be in danger with all these different vampires in the area.
And the author makes like a whole point of how Araya, our main character, feels more like a vampire than a human, just because she's been so isolated from people. And, you know, she's hard. She fights with daggers. You know, Shadow Father has trained her well. And Ilana is like the only connection she has to humans. She'll save humans. She's empathetic to them, but she doesn't feel like she belongs with them at all. And it's really hammered into us, like this side of her. And I don't know, it just doesn't really work for me.
Well, you know why it doesn't work? It's because it tells you and it doesn't show you. You're told as the reader a million, like literally so many times throughout the whole novel. It's a non-stop onslaught of just telling you her pity story about this. But instead of like cleaning that up, taking that exposition out, and like taking out the parts where it tells you, hey, this is how this character feels, just show it in the interactions in between her and others. Well, the problem therein then is that there's very little other characters after this point. So it's pretty limited what kind of dynamics she can have and how you can define her as a person.
You would think that with so few character names to remember, we would do a stellar job, but no, we're not going to.
There's very little characters for her to be, for her character to come through. It's because we're told, not shown, that she, feels this sort of way where she always has to be on edge. She always has to be on guard. So she feels more like an emotionally stunted vampire than a real human girl.
I just wanted to say about Araya and Ilana's Ilana?
It's Alana.
Ilana's conversation, that immediately you get to see that the author clearly has an idea that this was going to be a qualitative vampire romance book with themes, and it's gonna do nuance, right? So Ilana sort of says, Araya, you have this hardness in you. Don't lean into it. Don't become like them. You're so much better. And don't enter into this competition. And Raya's like, no, but I have to, so I can be safe. And after I'm safe, I'm gonna protect you, specifically you, Ilana, because you're the only human I care about. But as an umbrella, all the other humans will be protected as well.
All of, like, Araya's sort of internal, like, angst about, like, oh, I'm so hard, like a vampire, I don't understand humans, is so much more potent because it's in first person, and we just feel it all the time. And just, like, throughout the whole book, it's just like, I can't trust anyone. My shadow father was always telling me, don't trust anyone. And it's so exhausting to be in her head this whole book. It's like being in, like, an 8th grader going through a goth phase. Like, oh, I'm so damaged.
Shadow Daddy is just constantly in her head and gaslighting her into distrusting everything and everyone ever.
Yeah. That's another thing I find that a lot of first-person romantasy authors fall into the trap of, is that, like, circuitous, like, thought process of being stuck in the same problems over and over again. The argument made right now, as part of my changes that I would implement as president of this book, I would have changed this to third-person limited, personally. Third-person limited would have left some mystery to her character for us to not quite understand, because how could we possibly empathize totally and fully with somebody that's been battle hardened all of their life, has been ostracized from most of society, and so has probably, like, stagnated social, like, capabilities. Like, she probably doesn't, like, it's like my dog, you know, we got him before COVID and he never socialized, so he's an awkward dog in front of other dogs. That would be her. She would be and not to mention, she's been raised by a vampire. So if there were a really great way to portray how awkward she was or anything, is literally her and oh God, sweet mother of God, Alana's interactions with each other. That could have been established where Alana's just like, man, you are an awkward duck.
That would have been so cute.
Yes, and she still loves her anyway. That would have been really, really cool. But no, you don't get any of that. We get so much first person, like, hatred, confusion, all of that. That just doesn't work, I think, in the type of book that she's trying to write here, where there's a lot of, there's supposed to be tension, adventure, action. I just think it would have worked better to have that third-person limited perspective.
You, the reader, know that Araya's been pretty much gaslit by her dad figure her whole life. It's just so frustrating to watch her be like, he loves me, he loves me, he loves me. I'm like, girlfriend, think.
The theme of gaslighting is the nail, and the author is just driving it repeatedly into our skulls, so we will get it, we stupid readers.
We get that introduction to Alana, the character, that she's very important, blah, blah, blah. She's supposed to leave town to avoid any potential danger for this competition, and then she, our main character, scales up like 40 flights or something. I don't know. Just something, like, ridiculously badass.
She's like a little crab or a spider, if spiders are cooler than crabs. She scuttles up the wall and climbs into her room, because she is a human princess in a world of vampires, so she's not supposed to leave her room. She's supposed to sit alone at home all the time and be normal. So she sneaks out. She has to keep it from her daddy, that, you know, she can't just sit here and wither away all of her life. So she goes back into her room. It's a big sopping mess. Like, it's described as a dump. Her room is a dump. She's a trash baby.
Just like me.
Okay, that doesn't stand to par with your clean background.
Oh, don't look anywhere else. However, surely they have servants, right?
Okay. My next biggest gripe. Our protagonist is human, and in this world, the vampires have blood rage, and it's just, like, so uncontrollable that, like, most vampires, like, she has to be wary of. But Vincent, her father, is, like, super strong, you know, because he's the leader and everything of this.
And he won the Kajari, which is the Hunger Games, the last one. So he's extra, extra strong.
Like, super spicy. And so he's different, but everybody else she's in danger of at any moment. First of all, why would you make this a rule in your world? This takes away a lot of potential for certain interactions, but even if that's the case, why can't they control themselves? Surely they can. Surely. That just overcomplicates so many things. And my biggest thing is, if this is a castle and she's a princess, what servants come in and cleans the area? Why are there no maids? Why are there no cooks? Surely there are cooks. Are the cooks vampire? Are they lower status vampire? Are they humans? There's none of this. None of this comes up.
There were cooks. There were maids. There were servants, but the vampires ate them all. That's the only explanation that makes any sense. And for some reason, Vincent hasn't hired any new ones. I kept thinking that this was going to come around to, because you're right, Katie, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you make up this rule that bloodlust is so intense that vampires become raving animals who can't control themselves? So my idea was that, the author is being sneaky here. She is giving us this because it's obviously not this. That would be so dumb. But actually, it's Vincent who is using this to isolate Aurea and make her feel unsafe in her own home, in her own world. I was like, this author is being sly. She gonna surprise us. That would have been so good.
Oh, man.
That would make so much more sense.
She did surprise me, but not in that way, no.
Could you imagine if that's the way she responded during the Kujari, if she was just like, Hoya! Hoya! Constantly thinking, that's too comedic. But, she's Jackie Channing it up, and they're all just like, what are you doing, bro? And she's like, I'm bleeding, you're all gonna attack me. And they'd be like, wow, man. Yeah, I know!
Maybe not the tone of the book, but it would have been really funny.
That would have been so funny.
I also think this is a good time to mention at this point, and continuously through the book, you're going to be told a lot of things about how our character feels, about how she thinks and things like that. And so she ends up becoming just like this kind of like insert yourself into the situation kind of character because she lacks so many defining characteristics. So she kind of just becomes like a blank slate. She is a blank slate. And so my version of her, I will attempt to persuade both of you, although I think I have you, based off of your previous commentary. I think my version of her would be far more interesting and hot. Okay, so we're at the point now. She's gone back up to her tower, her Rapunzel tower. Her dad comes in, and he's like, are you ready for the really intense contest that you're going to become a part of soon? And she's like, yeah, like I was taking a relaxing bath. That's why I'm wet from the rain outside. Even though, again, there are many instances in this book where you're like, wait, can't they smell? Don't they have super smell? Or do they have super hearing? Like, they're supposed to have enhanced senses, it seems like, in some situations. But then
it's insane that he hasn't caught her by now. Like, it's crazy.
How? So he's never caught her sneaking out to go kill these vampires, which
she does it at nighttime, too, which is when the vampires are awake. So
yeah, shouldn't he be able to hear the scuttle of her climbing down the walls of the castle?
He's never gone into her room to talk to her, because in the night, they're awake in the night, while she was out there killing vampires, and been like, I wonder where my little daughter is.
Val, he's so busy being in his own room all the time because, he's a king. So when he's not, putting down rebellions with his sword, he's just waiting in his room for stuff to happen.
The image of a king in my head, like, it's like I wrote this in like 8th grade. I'm like, what do kings do? They sit on their throne all day and they just think.
That's the kind of like essence that you're getting from this. And also, I thought the author was gonna just like hide this under the rug and never address it, but our protagonist goes out several more times throughout this book to do the same thing, to either blow off steam, which is very sociopathic, but like to blow off steam, or to hone her skills, where she goes out and she kills these random vampires that aren't described as being like ghouls or anything. They could just literally be like Andy from the second castle wing that likes to go out and party every Tuesday night and likes to suck on a few necks. We don't know who vampires these are. And she goes out and she murders them. And I thought, is that not like a political handicap for him, for her to be doing this, like to just be killing people? Is she not murdering the vampire populace. And I thought she's going to just like never address. No, she addresses it towards the end where she's like, this would have been a big political problem for Vincent if he had ever found out. And I'm like, why are you doing it then?
She's like Davy Jones, like dead men tell no tales. They can't say that I killed them if they're dead.
Vincent does come in the room. He doesn't know what she's been doing. This is a complete secret from him. It never comes up, to my knowledge. And, you know, they talk about the Kajari. And then they go have a cool badass training scene where they go into a sandpit inner room with these beautiful mosaics around of like bloody vampires and stuff that we get told that every new ruler from either side of the two different vampire species, anytime either one of them comes and conquers this space, because it's just a back and forth tug of war through the ages, they always repaint the murals new with different wings. So that way, if it's the bat people, it's bat wings. And if it's the feather people, it's feather wings. And I'm just like, that's kind of actually a cool concept, honestly, the idea of the conquerors changing the artwork and everything. And I'm like, you know, that's actually pretty, I like that. But at the same time,
that is something that's happened.
Yeah. Like, so there are these, this is what I think we're talking about, though. There are these little cultural sort of world building things that she obviously has put loving care and thought into. And then it's just like, nope, none of that matters.
Yeah, because the plot is all about how hot this vampire is.
It's just weird that she put in the effort, like, at all. Like,
yeah.
Why?
Well, apparently this is a duology out of 3 sets of duologies set in the same world, apparently. So I think she's kind of, you know, building her little, sort of like she's going to Sarah J. Maas it and just sort of weave all her books together. Mm-hmm. And she just wrote down details without ever thinking that, oh, is this relevant for this book at all?
There's like a little scene sort of after this, I think it's after this, where there's like an event, like a ball, a dinner, where kind of like before the Hunger Games, like you, sorry, I just like cut some spit in my mouth. You like,
I love it. Oh, I'm so glad we're all quirky white girls. Like it's just like it's so much awkward. It's gonna like overflow into the screens of our viewers, and now we'll have like a thing going.
This is a great episode. She's looking at like this is like the first party she's ever been to with other vampires because her dad always keeps her away, and she's like, oh no, gotta keep my knife close. But she's looking at all her other contestants and
can't wear a dress either.
She's a cool girl. She doesn't wear dresses.
She wears leathers.
Yep, always.
Yeah, always. She just wears leathers. Never described. They're just her leathers.
And her dad is like sort of like, watch out for this one. They do that. Watch out for this guy over here. They do that. And he leaves her for a minute, and she sees this huge man across the room. This enormous hulking man. And she's like, who is he? And he's looking at a painting on the wall of like, because the Batwing vampires are in charge. He's looking at the one painting of the, the Featherwing vampires where that's left up because it's one where they're being like conquered. So it's sort of like a power move, and he's just sort of staring at it. She's like, oh, wow, I also kind of like that painting.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't do it like that, but it does, everybody. Like, it's written like that. And so you're just kind of like, come on, bro. You're doing this too hard. You're playing too many of your cards at once.
Yeah, and she's so fascinated by him because he's got this dark red hair that, like, the color of it I can only think of, like, it sounds like the, like, sort of burgundy hair dye that was really popular when I was in, like, high school. Like, it's just like a sort of 2010s girl, like burgundy hair. Like, I'm not a real redhead. I'm a quirky redhead. Anyway, he turns around and she's like, oh, I can see his rust red eyes from across the room. And I'm like, so we know this is the love interest. No one gets these paragraphs of descriptions if they're not the love interest. And then because she's so distracted by how this huge hulking hot guy, like some vampire sneaks up on her and she's like, freaks out. Her dad comes back. And then after that, I think she just like goes to bed and wakes up in the Hunger Games. The Kajari,
no, that is literally, guys, it is such a tonal shift. It's because you basically just get that little interaction with the party. She does indeed just leave, and she just wakes up. Oh wait, she gives her blood. That's what it is. She has to donate her blood or whatever for the.
Oh yeah, the not to Nyaxia to be like, I'm yours, lady god of... She's the god of death, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
And her dad's like, the Kajari could start any day now. We don't know. Be prepared. Goes to bed, wakes up. She's in the Kajari. Let's go. Like, just like that.
Yeah, and she has been magicked or teleported into this House of the Moon.
It's explained that Nyaxia or whatever, or just like can change the Moon Palace or whatever it's called. Like, there's no architecture here. Like, things are just like whatever is most convenient for the plot. The house changes to accommodate for for that.
Yeah, it's like Rose Red in Rose Red, the house that changes all the time.
Yeah, and it's the thing is though, right? So obviously, if you're here for the romance, you're like, all right, get me to that romance. I don't really care about this window dressing stuff. But again, it's not paced like window dressing. It's paced like all of this matters and that I need to pay attention to it. And so I'm paying attention to it, goddammit, and we get into this scene, and it is the lamest introduction to this Colosseum. Instantly, who does our protagonist hear screaming off into the nebulous distance?
Oh, whose voice is that? Is it the only human I know?
So her, like, Baba friend is, like, screaming, and she's instantly, like, there's no final meeting, there's nothing. What happens is she's like, oh, that's my friend's voice. I told her to leave. She didn't leave, I guess. But also, like, it seemed like her friend was going to leave. If she didn't leave, why didn't she leave? Plot-wise, that seems like that matters to some degree. But
I think it's happening too early. They thought it would start in 4 days, and instead it started on day 1.
Why is she even grabbed from the castle or whatever? If she's like a normal vendor that has good quality blood or something, like, why would you get rid of your resources like that? And she's just, it's just fodder. It's just plot fodder.
It's plot fodder, but I guess if we want to, delude ourselves into this plot making sense, we can just say that their goddess is an absolute bitch who wanted it to be her friend so that she would have trauma.
That's fair. So, but it's also very strange, though. It's because anyway, I won't get onto that. But yeah, Nyaxia, we kind of like jumped into that before, but she's the vampire goddess who is like their patron saint kind of vibe, where she is the mother of all vampires and so on and so forth. And so her friend is like screaming, and she goes to her, and she's already dead. She's just dead already.
So first what happens is like a vampire voice comes up behind her, and he's like,
oh, that's right.
She's already dead, like a little bird or whatever the fuck he calls her. I don't remember what it is. He calls her some like stupid
Princess?
Little pet name. Maybe, I don't know if he calls her that here. Doesn't matter. He's like, already dead. She's like, fuck you. Stabs him in the like thigh and just bolts. And he's like, icks his tits or something, like some other god we don't know about. I'm like, I hate that curse word so much. It sounds so stupid. But anyway.
It does.
She like bolts off, finds her friend, as you said, absolutely mangled, like a pile of meat, I think is like described as. She's just so sad, saddest girl ever, picks up her little purple scarf and is like sentimental, puts it in her little bag. We knew this was gonna happen. Like, she's just, it's fridging time.
And then she goes to the top of this palace because there's a greenhouse or a garden at the top that's glassed in. So she's like, it's gonna be the ultimate place for me to hide out during daylight hours because vampires are allergic to the sun, so it doesn't kill them in this world, apparently. Or maybe it's just born vampires it doesn't kill, but it hurts them. So she's like, I'm gonna be safe there, so I'm gonna get up there and make my lair there because we are going to stay in this palace during the entire tournament
for 4 months.
I was like, how does she get food?
The palace provides, Lindbergh.
Where's the bathroom?
Yes,
it's like the room of requirement from Harry Potter. You're just like, open it and you're like, oh, it's what I need. Unless the goddess is in a bad mood, and then she's like, fuck you, you don't get any food, which I guess happens later.
I feel like the story pacing wise would have done significantly better if it was just a back to back thing, like
a week.
Yeah, or, you know, as soon as it starts, it's literally to the last one standing back to back event.
Like Battle Royale.
Yeah, like, I feel like also, so I just want to pause real quick, though. So the purpose of this contest isn't to find the strongest vampire. It isn't to pick a leader. It isn't for anything that. It is their goddesses' trials, so that way you can get a wish taken. But it's a very deadly set of trials. So, like, you don't have to participate. So my question then becomes, like, why do they even do this politically? Why is this not, like, this seems like it's a religious thing. And that if it was religious, that would be a really interesting aspect to it. And that only, like, the super devout or something of vampires enter. And if that was the case, that could have, like, a whole other, like, you know, facade over, a filter over people's intentions and things like that, which I just find world building wise would be far more fascinating. But it just doesn't really make any sense to me why all these people are watching them do this thing, and it just so happens that the magic brings them into this visible area where they can watch the games, I guess. And it's all just for the purpose of basically everyone dying except for one person who gets their wish taken. Why would anybody, this would be such a massive hurt on their resources, as because it's said that these two vampire like groups are like warring against each other. So if anybody's gonna die, like, and also if they could make a wish, wait a second, if the opposing vampire group could make a wish, shouldn't that be like a huge issue?
Yeah, it is a huge issue, clearly.
Yeah, they could just wish for the throne.
And, like, the religion in this book is so weird, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I like the concept of this, like, competition, honestly, with some of the trials sort of, like, mirroring the goddess's life, like her early life. I thought that was kind of cool. But, like, it's not fleshed out, it doesn't make sense, and so many of the contestants seem to just not really respect the goddess. They'll just say things like, oh, fuck Nyaxia, and I'm like, bitch, you're, like, she's controlling that house you live in. If she gets mad at you, like, you're screwed. Like,
yeah, she's like Santa Claus. She knows what you're doing.
she watches when you're asleep.
Did you think this through, buddy?
Oh, I forgot to mention, she kills the vampire who killed Ilana, who was like, slurping up all the humans. Knife to the chest. She's real good at it. Kills him easy. Runs off to the greenhouse. And we later realized that this guy that she killed has a brother in the tournament as well, and he's just pissed off. And brings up another question. Why are so many, like, besties and brothers joining this competition together where they're gonna have to kill each other? There's so many of them.
You guys are thinking too much about this. That's the entire problem here.
The thing is, the author addresses it.
She invited to make us think about it. She invited us to make us think about it.
She's like, oh, yep, it's not uncommon for, like, siblings and friends to join together. Little weird, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it is.
And then, of course, we get our obligatory casual killing scene from our love interest in this scene. The brother, it's time where the environment provides, and they have food and blood and such. And this is where I think she runs into Rain, the love interest, the man who was staring at the moody picture, the moody painting on the wall.
Dark red hair, rust red eyes.
He's big as a wall. He's there, and he's also, because he's got a bandage on his thigh, the guy that, like, told her not to go look for her friend because she's already dead and blah blah blah. And I thought surely, like, he was gonna throw her under the bus and that was gonna be part of their dynamic from the get-go. But the brother's really pissed, and he's like, who killed my brother? He was my brother. And literally like that, though. And Rain is just like, oh yeah, like, your brother deserves to die. He was, like, an a-hole. And I don't even know how this happens. They get into a scrap of some sort, and he just, like, annihilates the other dude with his, like, star magic. What's the star magic called again?
Astrum or something?
I don't know where the stars are coming from. Like,
this is when we were first introduced to magic, right? As, like, a thing in this world.
It's already told you a little bit from Vincent. It's because she's like, yeah, my super father is, like, super, and he is the strongest magic user of the star magic stuff. And that's all you've been told so far. You haven't really seen much of it. And then, like, even when they did their, like, practice duel together before the party, he was like, she was like, I got you. You would die here. And he's like, not if I used my magic powers. And she's like, not if I was quicker. And so that's all you've been given about it. And then this is where you're seeing it. And it's like kind of a surprise that Redhead True Daddy is like very powerful. Like it's very like unique that you would be that powerful.
It's a rare magic or something. A little confusing. The minute you start thinking about the magic in this at all, it just falls apart. Because we learn, I don't know if we learn here, but we learn eventually that our main girl has magic. It's kind of weak magic, like it's blue fire or something. And I'm like, wait a minute. Can humans have magic? Do we know this about this world? It's never explored.
No, not really. What happens is we do get in a scene that we're about to encounter. They get sucked up. None of this stuff matters. So anyway, the point is though, is they get sucked up into a battle, right? And so she's battling in a sand pit, nebulous surroundings, cheering, whatever, I don't know. And there are these demons, because there are demons in this world, and the demons are, I think, I don't know that they are only this, but they are at the very least the House of Blood vampires that have been cursed, because apparently the House of Blood has a curse.
We don't know what it is.
No, but they all have a curse of some sort. It's like it's a clan trait you get when you choose this species. And they are demons now, and so they're like, I pictured them like the gargoyles from the Ghostbusters film. You know what I mean? Like the dog thing?
Yeah, that's sort of what I was getting. Yeah. They're like pale, and they've got like little slits for a nose, and I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Ghouls on 4 legs. But anyway, she's fighting them. Rain is fighting them. There's this other guy that's fighting them. And they're in different, I guess, bubbles of fighting battle areas. And what we hear a little bit is that as Rain and our protagonist is like trying to figure out how do we overcome these demons, you get the gist that his partner or somebody he cares about is adjacent to them. And she's a vampire, but she's using normal fire magic. And that is where we are introduced into the idea that humans could have magic too. In fact, there are like 10 other or 11 other or whatever other apostles or whatever the heck gods and goddesses that the humans follow this entire, what is it called? The white something? It's called the white temple, the white, and that's what all those gods and goddesses are. She calls it the white
pantheon. The white pantheon.
The white pantheon. Good job. And so then you know that, oh, wait, there's a whole other... So again, she wants us to know this. She's wasting my time with this. Why? Why are we doing this if it doesn't matter? Anyway, it's fine. So anyway, we're in the first fight scene. They win. That's all that you really need to know, honestly. I don't think there's anything that happens in this scene that has ramifications later on.
Well, Uriah is stabbed very badly in this scene, and Rain kind of saves her life. So when they get out, he's like, you're gonna have to come with us, princess. There's no way you're gonna be okay on your own. We have a safe place. We can just guard you until the morning. And she's like, fine, I'm bleeding out, so I don't really have any choice.
No, she's very stubborn about it first. She's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And then she gets attacked, and then she's like, fine, I'll show up, I guess.
It just feels like a really lame, boring waste of white space on your pages, on your page count. It's because, like she just said, you have an interaction where he comes into the garden, and you can tell this is supposed to be like an iconic scene too, but it loses all atmosphere.
Oh yeah, he's like, how poetic that all the living things in here are in one room.
Which, I mean, look, that is actually a beautiful sentiment. It's because like she could be like that killing like deadly desert nightshade, like that whole like velvet atmosphere thing that she obviously is trying to go for, and that could work, but it's just all this other stuff is so ridiculous. But he offers her partnership. She says absolutely not, because it doesn't matter, because once we get towards the end of things, you're going to turn on me and kill me. And he's like, yeah, no, duh. And so she's like, no. And then literally not but I want to say 10 pages, 15 pages later, she's up there with them. I was like, why did you even waste our time in giving us the
Just
facade?
because she's stubborn and she's self-reliant, we have to, hammer in those traits. Like, look at her.
Yeah, the romantasy protagonist must have attitude. She don't take orders from no man. She thinks for herself.
She's a lone wolf. Oh my god, yeah. So she immediately goes, and it's just like a straight up apartment. I just pictured like a normal ass like a apartment in America.
Yeah,
just
suddenly the tone of the book just shifts entirely. It goes from Hunger Games with vampires into friends, and now they're moving in together. They're gonna be apartment buddies, and they're gonna sit around and drink coffee and talk.
We all have our own little rooms. We've got a kitchen.
So weird. I was like, what?
It is. It's very strange. Then we're introduced into the adjacent character who our main character, we are told, loves very much as a friend. Not romantic, very specifically stated twice. Mm-hmm. Misha, who is our resident girly pop.
Quirky girl.
Yeah, that's what she is. That's about it. That's all she is.
I haven't read Sarah J. Maas, but I'm told she is very Moore coded.
That makes sense. I would say, but she's significantly worse than Mord. She literally has absolutely none of these characters. What am I saying? None of these characters have character, so it doesn't matter, I guess.
Here's the thing: like, there's so few actual characters in this book that matter. You would think that some of them would have actual personalities, and even the ones that she mentions, like. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to mention him earlier. Ibrahim. I'm so perplexed by his character. We call him out earlier, like when we're looking at contestants, because, Vincent is like world building things. Sometimes, like vampire parents will like sort of like fuck up their children so that they, can't like usurp the throne or kill them. In this case, he was just mauled. Essentially, I don't remember exactly. Like he's just torn up.
His fangs have been ripped out, so he has very scarred gums. His wings have been ripped out and his or shredded, and then his one leg has been hobbled.
And throughout this whole book, like the author or like the main character is just like they seem to have this weird. They always like lock eyes meaningfully.
I know.
And they're like, we're both underdogs here, but they just look at each other meaningfully a few times and like don't talk. He's not a character. It's just like. I don't know what his role is here. I don't know what's happening. We only see him in the fights. Like
it feels like he's supposed to be somebody specific that has a specific job. Maybe even like not a foil, but some type of juxtaposition between her and a vampire, maybe version of herself that she could have been. But again, I would like to bring up, I'm sorry, I won't linger on it, but if we're just killing all of our kids constantly, who the heck is it? Because it even says simultaneously in the same several exposition lines that while parents do that, their inheritance is incredibly important to them. It's because that's the only thing after that'll be left. And so it's like, wait a second. So we're going to go around and we're going to not kill, but we're going to just like physically maim hugely all of our children so they can't hurt anyone, which means they probably can't defend themselves, which means when they do finally inherit our stuff, then they're going to inherit it and probably lose it immediately. How has this progressed for so long? How are there empires?
That's actually a really good question. I did not actively think about it until now. Maybe they keep a favorite child locked up in a cage in their basement or something, and once they have written their will and you are my heir, you will now be let out, so you can kill.
I would love that idea.
I guess.
I would love that idea that you take one pearl of a child, you shape them into your form that you want, you gaslight them so it goes into
the themes.
Yes, exactly. You form them into your own pearl that you want, and all the other pearls just get spat out into the system. Like, that would be totally fine. No, we didn't get that. That was not explained.
I guess all the vampires nations are run by hobbled, horribly scarred vampires.
They've joined forces. They're up in the apartments. What even happens from there, actually? Because we get to another scene. What is it? Or is it that they're training or something? I don't remember.
I don't remember the order just because there's so much sort of like faffing about, like, like in the apartment and like sort of half flirting. Oh yeah, so they start training for the next.
I feel like that's what it is.
Uriah and Rain are both kind of holding back because they're like, I don't want him to learn my attack patterns and movements and stuff because then he'll be able to kill me easier later. And then like they're fighting. He's like, you have to stop holding back, and he like sort of sexily sort of walks her up against a wall, and she's like, stop it, and like attacks him with her like fire powers, like big old blast. But she's like, I didn't know I could do that, and he like flies out the window. It's fine, he has wings. He comes back in.
At this moment, our main character shows an amazing power that she apparently felt while under duress. And the problem is there's this other theme that the author's also trying to instigate, which is fear is just a chemical reaction in our body.
Fear is a collection of physical responses.
Yeah, or whatever. Like Jason Bourne style. Like our protagonist keeps thinking fear is just it's just my body. It's not for real. And the thing is like, okay, sure. Whatever. That's cool, I guess. I think it's
this book does that a lot, where it just sort of like repeats lines over and over again, like in a way to try to make it meaningful. And I'm just like, all right, okay.
In this moment where she's, I guess, feeling fear or something, because later on, she's like, how do I access that power? And they're like, you have to feel fear. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, you don't think all this time it's told that she's tried to use magic her whole life. Her being sexually boobied up to a wall is the only type. I mean, maybe if it's sexually engaged, but like maybe it's passion. But she wasn't passionate in that moment because that would have been really weird.
No, she's always saying like Vincent is the only vampire who she's ever like even remotely close to her. So him being like a couple feet away is enough to make her like, oh my god, like yikes or something.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Girl is so thirsty.
And also you're like Valerie said, it's this like series of training montages because we have to train. We have to train.
Yeah, and at night, Uriah sneaks out and meets Vincent, her father, in a secret spot. And he learns that she has teamed up with Rain and Misha. And Vincent is like, that is a horrible idea. And she's like, oh yeah, it is, but I had to team up with someone. Everyone's doing it nowadays, Dad.
You don't get it.
Yeah, well, take my word for it. That's gonna come and bite you in the ass. That's basically why that scene is there. So they kind of split up and are fighting, I guess. And she goes back to the apartment and we have some more chatting and hanging out.
Banter, yeah.
She confides in Misha, because these girls are friends now, I guess.
Misha reminds her of Ilana because her one human friend. She's like, oh, she's nice, just like my one human friend.
And then we jump to the second trial.
Do you remember what that was? I honestly don't.
Wait, is this the one?
It's a maze, Katie.
Yeah,
you got very angry.
I did get very angry. We get another maze type thing. Again, all of these instances almost feel like mazes except for the last one. Like the first one, it was just like, they were suddenly in the moon place, and so it was like maze-like. It's because it's just a whole bunch of corridors and she doesn't know where she's at, so that's a maze to her. And then you have like a small like Coliseum battle sequence in the sands, and now you have another maze, but this maze one is like full of stone and stuff, and it's just like there's a weirdly large amount of it's like a platforming game. She gets to this point in this, and it happens again later. I forget, she's like in a metal cage or something, but she also has to find the click or something in the wall, and I'm just like, why is it so vague? We're just getting these vague things of her finding out because she's clever, or Indiana Jones or something, but she gets to this end where there's a stone step, and her and Ibrahim have like run into each other, and they've been walking around just glancing at each other being like, are you going to attack me? No, I'm not going to attack you if you don't attack me. And so they're going, and it seems like he matters, but of course what we get instead is they get to this point where that stone, if you stand on it, it opens a door, but if you get off of it, it goes right back down.
It's like a video game. You need to roll the crate over.
Yes, but in this case they determine, no, one of our dead bodies. No! First of all, you didn't have to jump to that. Somebody could have just stayed behind. It's fine. You didn't have to die. But even if you didn't want to stay behind, you still don't have to kill the other person, because what happens is they're like, oh, first one dead is the crate. And so they fight, and she has this really bad, like really short, really badly written fight with him. And she has him on the rock, and he's like, I'm glad it was you, or something like that, or that might come later. But the point is she's like, well, I'm not going to leave him here. I'm going to murder him. And I'm like, why would you not just leave him here? You had no qualms about that previously.
She's a badass. She's like, oh, I just have to kill. I've got to be brutal. I don't know. It's her personality.
And then, so she goes to do that, but then all of a sudden there's a shaking or something, and it never happened. She ends up leaving him behind, and she goes forward. So none of that interaction even mattered whatsoever. That could have been just scrubbed from the plot.
The author clearly likes whatever's going on with the dynamics with her and Ibrahim. Like she thinks it's meaningful in some way. But I'm just like, I don't see it. It's something. He's a character, but it's just empty, like, page space.
I feel like it's also just a vehicle to make Oriah seem good. Because, you know, we see her not be sure of what's good, and then at every single turn when she has to make a choice, she makes the morally, objectively better choice. Like, yeah,
you're right.
Because the next thing that happens is that she finds a random child in the labyrinth.
That's right.
And she's like, I'm gonna save this child because it's a child.
Oh my god, the dumbest.
I forgot that was this one too, yeah.
She meets up with Rain, who is fighting one of the bitchy hot female vampires called Angelica.
Because she's one of the only other ones with a name. I think she might be the only other one with a name, honestly.
There's actually one character we've neglected to introduce because she literally had 0.5 second screen time. But Jessanine, or whatever, the general in charge of war forces for Vincent. So her father's right-hand woman for battle planning and everything. We've been introduced to her. She's super sexy. That's all you need to know.
And she's not in the competition. She's with Shadowfather.
Basically, she runs into Rain and Angelica, and by fighting Angelica, Rain helps Oriah and this child escape, and they find their way to the end of the maze, and that's how you get out of the trial, I guess.
Oriah's like bleeding out or something, and like I think she faints before the end of the trial. She's like, Rain, save the human girl.
This girl is always fainting. Jesus, she's always bleeding out, and she's always fainting all over the place.
That's the scene change thing. We can just sort of zoop.
It's the theater switching or
it's
whatever.
The scene break.
It's every time we get a scene switch. It's that way we don't get the she walked from point A to point B, because the author probably doesn't realize you don't have to write that. You can just cut to the next scene, but without the fainting. And so she's like, no, just don't let them take the child. Don't let them it's revealed during the scene also, the reason the child's there is that there were just a whole bunch of humans being used as like props, and like the vampires were like gorging themselves on them and everything. So it's just like, once again, a weird use of like resources. Why would you? Is there no structure in this society? Is this, and if there isn't, that's fine. But this isn't the society the way it should look like then.
It's described as, it's not anyone's, like, it's like Nyaxia's will or something. Like, she can just sort of, she's like teleporting left and right, like, just like, oh, I'll take a human over here, just plop it into my little theater play of competition, and, well, if the goddess of death wants it, then,
it's hers.
You chopped liver.
So then she wakes up, and of course, she's super angry and hurt. And she's the child's gone, so she has to go kill some more in the city.
Then, like, Rain finds her while she's, like, killing vampires angrily.
Because he's stalking her, but in a totally not weird way.
No, he's like, oh, it's so hot that you, like, come out here and just kill people.
And she's like, why would you want me to kill vampires? You're a vampire. And he's like, these guys are just killing for fun. Like, they suck. And she, like, doesn't understand it. She's like, but you're a vampire. Why would you think anything good ever? And he's like, whatever. Anyway, want to come with me to see the little girl? And she's like, you saved her? So they go to an orphanage, and he's like, yeah, I dropped her off here with all the other, like, humans. She's probably got no family anymore, but she's alive. And it's very touching, very meaningful. We're like, oh my gosh, they're both good people after all.
And then they go and drink beer at a tavern.
Is that this time too? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, he's a man's man. He just loves that piss taste in beer.
Araya's like, wait a minute, like, I'm nervous around humans. I don't know how to act. This guy acts more human than I do. And I have the juxtaposition between a vampire who acts like a human and a human who acts like a vampire is so interesting.
Neither actually happens. You're just told that it does.
You're just told that, yeah.
And suddenly there's a big explosion because there's an attack happening at the Moon Palace.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is when that happens,
Vincent rushes out. Yeah, he rushes out with his big guard and he's like, oh, it's the rebels. The angel-winged vampires are staging. They're trying to take over again. And Rain and Araya has to go and save Misha because, of course, Misha was in the part of the palace that is getting attacked, and now she's in a really bad way. So they have to go rescue her, and they find her, and she's bleeding all over the place. And, you know, we find out that vampires can die, but they're more sturdy than humans. So Rain is like, I'm gonna have to carry her out of here, otherwise she's gonna die. But that means I can't carry you, Araya. And Araya is also kind of, you know, bleeding all over the place and not doing so great because...
She's always bleeding all over the place.
So she's like, yes, you go save her. Go rescue Misha. I'm gonna be fine. Even though she's clearly not gonna be fine. So he does. He takes Misha and they go off and she's like just fighting and there's all these vampires coming to attack her. And she's like, this is my final stand, guys. I'm gonna die. And suddenly she just does magic.
Because she's scared.
She's so scared now that she creates a big flash of magic.
And everything's fine.
The scene is so vaguely described that I had no idea what was actually happening.
Oh no, I was just like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to figure it out. She's okay.
I knew at this point that a lot of the exposition was just a waste of space. It's because I felt like I didn't miss anything, but yet I could still play The Sims. Because when I was listening to Children of Ruin, and I tried to play The Sims, I was like, I can't do this. There's like too much multitasking power for my brain. There's too much happening in detail that I need to actually follow. And then while listening to this, I was like, wow, I don't think I missed anything.
No, I can plot out 6 generations of Sims.
Usually my brain, like the minute I start getting distracted, I'm like, what just happened? But with the fight scenes here, I was just like, there's so little actually like substance like happening here. I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, I think a fight scene happened. She won, she's fine. We're okay, we can move on.
He magics, all the vampires turn into dust or something, and then Rain comes back and he's like, oh, I thought I was gonna be too late to save you, Araya. What happened here? What did you do, girl? And she's like, I don't know what I did. And oh, you came back for me? You didn't have to do that. You could have just left me here and gone on.
He's a big, mean vampire.
And he's like, no, of course I came back for you, baby. So he rescues her back out. And the next thing that happens is that Jasmine, Vincent's general for the guard, comes up and she's like, I'm gonna have to take these guys in to be interrogated because we think they might have something to do with the attack on the Moon Palace. We think they might be part of this rebel group. And she's like, they're not rebels. What are you talking about? And she's like, sorry, it's your father's orders. I just follow orders. We're gonna have to take them. And Rain is like, fine, I'll go. But then she's like, I need to take Misha as well. And Raya's like, but Misha she's basically dead on the floor here. You can't take her.
What happens is they make an appeal to have Misha sort of like taken out of the competition. Like she's dying. They're like, hey, Mr. like church boy, can we please take her out? And he's like, nope, sorry, it's not Nyaxia's will. She's just gonna have to die here. And I think Araya talks to her dad and is like, hey, can you make this happen? Like, and he's like, no, just kill her in her sleep. It'll be fine. And she's like,
oh my God.
I don't want to. Why don't I want to kill her in her sleep? Why do I want to protect a vampire? And I'm like, it's because you're friends. Okay. But it's okay. You're friends. You can admit it. And she's like, oh, that's so crazy that I don't want to kill her. And Araya is like, oh, well, whatever. I guess I want her to be alive and I want to get her out of here because I guess I'm a good person or something. So she goes to Mr. Church, is it like a magister or something is what he's called? I don't know.
I don't remember.
He's like old and creepy and he's like, sorry, we can't let her out. She's like, what if you drink a little blood from me, buddy? And he's like, hey, absolutely. And we sort of get an inkling here, like she's got some trauma about having her blood consumed. But it does a little fade to black before, we see the actual moment. But that does it, and Misha gets expelled from the competition. So now, once Rain gets back, it's just going to be those two in the apartment together.
Which it basically was anyway, because Misha was non-existent this whole time.
She was just there to be quirky best friend.
I also don't know where they were training, by the way. When we get earlier that Rain and her had to train and stuff, what are they hitting? What are their practice dummies?
Oh, they decided to go outside and train in the a village, right? The human part of
They're in the human
later
districts
on,
and killing vampires together.
I think they were just training in the living room, honestly.
Perhaps. I never tells you. But yeah, no, once he finds out that she goes out and she goes and kills weirdly just randos that are preying upon the humans, because apparently there's no laws intact for that. I don't know, again, I'm not going to get onto that bus, but I'm still so stuck on the nonsensical nature of it. But yeah, no, they train together and then they get to know each other's moves and stuff like that as they hunt the vampires together. And it's crazy because one time they actually worked together and it felt really good. And then they messed up 4 more times, but they're one step closer to being a good pair together. Again, I don't really understand why they actually, I was going to bring this up before. I don't understand why they need to know each other's powerful. They can fight together without being some Marvel rivals duo.
They're so in tune with each other. They're so linked. And Araya watches him fight one time and she's like, oh, I see. He's doing a performance. He's pretending to fight like a brute, but actually it's very controlled and he uses his magic really subtly. And I'm like, all right, okay, that's, I don't know. They're washing each other. They're doing a little flirting. They fight. What else happened?
He has gone with Jessamine in to be interrogated about
we did skip that part.
Uprising. And she goes to Vincent and begs for Misha. Vincent helps Misha. And at the same time, she's like, can't you get Rain off? And he's like, no, sorry, that's Jessamine's business. I had nothing to do with it. And instantly you're like, oh, but she said it was Vincent. Who's lying? Somebody is lying here. So she returns home to the apartment, and it's the evening before the trials, and suddenly there's a noise behind her, and it's Rain who's come home. He's been released, and he's really, really fucked up. He has been flayed open. His back is one major wound, and she's like, oh my god, I can't believe my father did this.
And what's kind of funny is, you might have been wondering as you've been listening along to us recount this story. So these vampires, they have wings, right? Yeah. But sometimes they don't.
They spirit them away, it is said eventually.
Yes. It's like when you have a sword in a video game and it just hovers on your back and then it just pops out when you're ready to use it.
Like a puff of blue smoke, just...
Yeah. No, literally, actually, the wings do go up in smoke. It says it when they have a coitus scene later on. His wings just puff up in smoke. And I was like, stop it, there's no smoke. It didn't say there was smoke before. I died.
So much of the world building stuff just sort of pops in like deep into the book and you're like, oh, that's been happening this whole time.
Yeah, I'm imagining their wings going and then it's just anime style just gone. So yeah, they have wings, but they can magic them in and out of existence as they will, which I find very just don't give them wings. They don't even use the wings 90% of the it's just for aesthetic's sake. But anyway, they were torturing him and they were trying to get him to show him his wings, and I'm like, all right, is he a special shadow? Is he a special someone? Is he are his wings special? Is that why? That's what I was thinking when this happened. And he was like, yeah, but I never revealed my wings. So they cut along where the wings would be, which I don't understand. why? Like, is it because when he poofs them into existence, it'll hurt a lot, but then why would he poof them into existence?
I think they cut up the muscles. Like, even if he can dust his wings, he has muscles to control them, so they cut up the muscles in his back to kind of hobble him.
I want to know how this magic works so badly. It's because I'm like, well, then how did the muscles reattach to the wing part? But anyway,
I figure it's like a trans-dimensional thing, so they can sort of just zap the wings in and out of this dimension, so the wings are kind of still there.
Oh, I see. Oh, that makes more. I mean, that would be fascinating.
I have headcanoned so much of this book just to make it make sense. It's ridiculous.
So he's hurt. She attends to him. What happens next? Do they train some more?
So we missed a part because when Misha was getting all messed up in the fight, she used a bunch of her fire magic. And when she's like near death, like on the ground, she's like, he didn't come, and Araya's like, who, Rain? He's gonna come back, don't worry. And she's like, no, Rain always comes back. And then Araya's like, oh, that's weird. And you later figure out that she had like a pact with like a god of fire or the god of something.
When she was still human, because we learn later that she is one of the few rare turned vampires.
As is Rain, yes.
Yes, and the reason they are not turned is because like 50% of the time it's a toss of the coin that you'll die. And so it's pretty rare for that to happen, which is why Araya, wait, what's her name again? Oh my god, Araya? No, our main character.
Misha.
Oh, Araya.
Araya. That's why Araya was not turned like that, and that's why she is going to, go through all these trials to request to basically be changed without that risk. When she was still human, she made a pact with the fire god, but then she still kind of had his powers, but now he's like forsaken her. It's because she's a vampire, but he didn't forsake her just yet before, which was something our main character was wondering about, like, how could a vampire use human? Or the White Pantheons?
Like the Nyaxia and whatever her god's name don't like each other. Yeah, Araxis. Yeah, they don't like each other. So every time she uses her magic, it's a risk. Like it's going to forsake her sometime.
Yeah,
I guess. And it finally did. So it's very, very sad for her. Little bits of world building that is like, oh, look at this. Let me just give you a little taste of this. Doesn't matter. No.
They still have not had heavy breathing or petting. They've not shared a kiss. They've not had gentle touches.
I'm sorry, there has been absolutely no chemistry at all beyond this is a man, this is a woman, now kiss.
Yeah. Basically, it doesn't help that they have no personality, like traits or anything like that.
It's like a really mild, grumpy Sunshine, right? Like where he's like a big beefy Sunshine, and she's like
he's a little jokesy, like that's. What is it he says?
There she is. Every time she says something spicy.
I've seen people get that tattooed on themselves when I Googled images of fan art for this book.
Yeah.
I saw, some wings. There she is.
I looked up quotes from this book, and someone had actually taken "there she is" as a memorable quote from this book.
No.
They have shirts for it. That's what all the quotes are. It's "there she is."
Yeah, you walk into Hot Topic, it's on the wall.
Yes, that is actually what you can get, and I'm just like, I'm dead. I'm like, oh my god, stop it. That's such a lame line. No offense. I mean, it actually could be really cute in the right, like, honestly, it's completely harmless. It's really kind of endearing. It could be, except for the fact that, once again, it's none of this actually hits home, so it doesn't really have any emotional weight to
Even
it.
The first time when I was reading it and having kind of like a fun time, I was like, that's really dumb.
Reverse Sunshine Grump, where the woman is the grump, is a thing in fiction. It's a huge trope because when the characters have personality, it is so delightful to see them interact with each other. But here, literally, the characters are just mannequins with faces pasted onto them, and they're hot.
I actually am not entirely sure what Araya looks like, except for that she has long black hair and moonlit eyes.
She has silver eyes.
And she's smally small, and he's bigly big.
She's tiny.
She's so small he can pick her up and throw her around. And that's all we need to know. So it's the next day, and the next trial suddenly starts, so they get teleported to some weird place once more. And at first, it's like a fever dream. So she's not sure what's happening. She's not sure where she is.
Is this where they drink the black tar looking stuff?
Oh, yeah. And then they fall asleep. When they wake up, they're in each other's bodies, or kind of in each other's bodies.
So it's strange. So the way it is lined up, what you don't know at first, but it is revealed in like 5 seconds, is that so they drink the stuff, they black out, and then there's like this horrible, like nightmarish thing that she's working through, and she finds her way to the surface of this nightmarish like existence, and he's in her head and she's in his head, and they're kind of like telepathically talking to each other / seeing through each other's eyes / feeling each other's bodies, and they're in a metal box of some sort, and so they need to get their way out, and she clicks the little button or whatever and finds her way out of the box, and there's a giant coliseum, and in the middle is all these monsters, and it's a bloodbath. It's just like a whole bunch of vampires trying to fight, but they apparently can't fight because it's really hard for people to share the same brains, understandably. But for our duo, it's pretty easy. And they both come out of their little boxes, and I guess some people haven't made it out of the boxes where they're still having their nightmarish like ritual of like the shit melding of minds. And so now they're in the throes of another what is it called? Where everybody dies.
So this is the trial where you need to have
Battle
a partner
Royale.
for, which is, obvious. So everyone is matched with someone, and everyone is kind of splitting consciousness and body with another person. So like, again, my eyes just glaze over on these
There's
scenes.
a lot of demons and hellhounds and frenzied vampires as well.
She and Rain like figure out like okay, who's paired up, we need to hurt this person, and they want to protect each other the whole time too. So like, oh no, my body's getting hurt with Rain in it, and Rain's body's getting hurt, and they want to protect each other because they care about each other, even though they haven't really talked about it.
And Rain's a little bit weak from his torture.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, oh, Rain is struggling against this person, who are they teamed up with? And then she seeks out their partner and sort of stabs them so that the person who's fighting Rain goes down, and they sort of, I don't remember what
I don't know. They make it out alive.
The whole purpose to this scene, everybody, is to give the readers this really nice tropey moment where they get to be in each other's minds and thoughts, even though this is not taken advantage of fully. And there's nothing in particular where they really reap the benefits or uncover particular secrets that are really like hitting. And so that way, Rain can be like, wow, you're so cool, Araya. That was such a, like, at one point he literally says, wow, you're so good. And I'm just like,
and he's like, wow, are you this tense all the time? And she's like, yeah, I have to be. And then like he like laughs in her body, and she like doesn't laugh because she's edgy, and also the rumbly feeling is like, that's so weird. And like, I'm just like, we get it, you don't know what laughter is, you've got no joy in your life. It's so tropey.
I don't remember how they win.
Me neither.
Or how they make it out.
I don't know, there's something about Ibrahim that comes up again.
Obviously.
Oh yeah, that's right, I remember what happens. She's like, no, fear is just a collection of physical reactions. He's like, no, you idiot. You access your magic through your fear. And she's like, okay, fear power, activate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a big moment.
Yeah, and she becomes like an ethereal goddess of magic.
Blue flames everywhere, like just annihilates like a whole bunch of people. And he like looks up at her like she's a goddess. And she's like, why is he looking at me like
that? And she's just like, I just killed all those people. Awesome. And they win, or whatever. Some people win. It's not just them. And then you move on to the next thing. And that's just like her powers. Do they come from Nyaxia? I think they do based off the star thing. And it's the star stuff. So how can she have Nyaxia's powers if she's not a vampire?
Isn't she a human? She does not question this one single time.
You're not supposed to ask this.
But why doesn't she question?
It's first person perspective. We should know her inner thoughts.
Because she done, guys. She's reactionary. She's just living this shit. She doesn't ask questions. Why would you do that?
She's just Vincent Shadowfather's little war machine.
Yeah. And now we're gonna go to a party because there's suddenly a ball.
And this is the point in the book where Rain and Araya were like, we're probably gonna have to kill each other now because we don't need each other anymore. But they don't, obviously, because they like each other.
We get this delightful scene where they go back to the apartment and she goes to take a bath or whatever, shower, water, and bathing. And when she comes back out of the bathroom, the moon temple has awayed all of her normal clothes and has only left her a really sexy outfit that she looks at and she's like, I can't possibly wear this outfit. I don't wear these kinds of outfits. But she can't find her leathers.
I can't wear that gorgeous dress.
I do kind of appreciate that the book was like internally, like she was like, actually, I look really good and I always kind of wanted to wear this. I thought that was actually kind of sweet because like she was like, I never would have been able to. It's actually kind of pretty. I'd be in danger, but it is kind of pretty.
At least we were like, false humility, fuck off.
I'm glad it acknowledged that.
But of course, she straps her daggers to her garter under the skirt because she can never go unarmed, guys.
Not because it's sexy.
Not to mention, how does she how do the blades stay there? How are they secured there? And then also,
we don't ask questions.
Don't they have poison in them? The blades, by the way, guys, we haven't really mentioned it, but these are poison blades that her shadow father gifted her. So they're like super cool serpents, like fang looking.
My headcanon is that she has these sheaths that she straps to the inside of her thighs with the blades in, and the entire ball she's kind of walking around like this because she can't bend her legs.
Anyway, it's fine. So they go to the party together where she has a, and by the way, we've not mentioned this because of how thrown away it was, but we keep getting these interludes at the beginning of the story, and then later on in the story they're just like tossed out the window, like they just never come back. But you get these interludes of these flashbacks of things that happened between Vincent and Araya in order to build up their relationship, to show what kind of relationship they had. And my first qualm with that is, bro, no, don't give us flashbacks. Give us the childhood first, and then give us you don't even have to have a long childhood. But the problem with that is by the time we get enough flashbacks to be emotionally indebted into this relationship, even if she was successful at that, would be the time where you want to cash in on that emotional debt. So that way you can kill him off or something like that. So that way it's like super dramatic and everything, because why else would you try to build it up like this? It's like so obvious that she's inserting these flashbacks for that only purpose. She
wants us to care about Shadowfather, but she doesn't want to write scenes that matter with him in them.
The issue with the flashbacks too, I think, is that like they're written in this sort of like storied past, like almost mythological kind of way, like with the like third person sort of pulled back, like just the girl, so it's deeply impersonal, so we don't really get any of the like bond between Araya and her father during them, because it reads sort of like a mythological account of this relationship. So again, doesn't really help ground their relationship.
It's like a chronicle written by a historian.
Yeah, and exactly.
Yes. It never expressly even says that it's Araya and Vincent, but you understand it anyway because we are smart people.
At this point, those aren't even being explored anymore, really. Like, you've already hit your climax of...
I think they show up after like every new part, so at the new moon or whatever.
The thing is, though, it ends on a weird note, though. It's because it feels like it's supposed to show you their relationship, which it does. I guess this ending note does show you the relationship, but it's a weird focus because during these flashbacks, like I said, it's to build rapport with you and their relationship. And you get to this point where you get the flashback where you find out about her trauma, that, you know, she had a lover, and that she had thought she had fallen in love, and that she had began having a relationship with him. They
Trigger warning for
thank you.
A slightly revoked consent situation, let's say.
Tender material. And it's actually quite pretty horrifically written in the moment. I thought she was successful in making horrific. Anyway, so she gets they begin to have sex, but then, you know, it slowly becomes like a bloodlust thing again, where he ends up hurting her and she ends up having to boink him on the head and run away. And it was like this horrible affair. And so she goes to her father, because that's all she has, And she's like, you know, crying, consulting him. And then in the next scene you get of the flashback, it's of him bringing her to her lover that had lost control. He's horribly sorry. He's like, I didn't even know that could happen. I'm so sorry. And he's like, kill him. All right, you have to kill him. You opened your heart. You went against what I said. This is an abusive moment. I'm going to force you to do something that's really awful to deal with your trauma. Kill him. And she does. But it's weird because that's the emotional note you end on for their flashbacks, which I guess could in a way make sense balance-wise, as far as just like the flashbacks weren't for the purpose of showing you how loving their relationship was, but was actually for the purpose of showing you how controlling he was. But it's such a mixed message.
Like, the author, like, takes a moment, or, you know, we get it through Araya because we're in her head, but, like, it's sort of like a step back moment where, like, you get the author telling you, like, oh, it, you know, like, actually, girl boss moment, when you learn you lose your virginity, that doesn't mean anything. You have your period, that doesn't make you a woman. What really hardened Araya was when she killed someone for the first time. Sex has nothing to do with, like, it's very much like a theme, like, step back, now, here's my feminist take moment.
It was just horribly used, and you're right. I actually really liked your comment on the point of, like, the point of view actually does switch to third person omniscient almost. For those scenes. And what the heck? Why would you do that for the scenes that are supposed to build emotional, like, connections with you, when that would have done so much well? I mean, I wouldn't say omniscient, but, like, you know, like I said before with the third person for the main part of the book, that would be so great. I mean, if you wanted to switch to first person for those flashbacks, that would be the time to switch perspectives if you were going to do that.
I marked those passages because it seems like the switch to third person was solely so the author could use a little bit of, you know, nice prose.
I know. Flowery.
I know. Yeah, so we know the book is, you know, it's not Twilight, it's not A Court of Thorns and Roses, this is classy.
The problem with like romantic characters in general, I think, and like authors like writing them, is they build these characters around tropes, and then the only like other personality they have is so firmly tethered to some trauma in their past that that's all it is. It's tropes and the anchor of trauma, and that's a character. And it's not what people are.
No, and it makes for an uninteresting read at this point, especially when if you wanted it to be just that, then you focus your book on that. But that's not what the book was focused on. It was like butter spread cross spread of like everything was covered. There was adventure, there was some thriller moments, there was some romance, there was some thematic moments of like what is love? Is it control? Is it like, to what degree is it control if you think you know what's best? Like, there are so many things being covered that I guess it's almost a too many things.
She didn't know what her themes were. Her themes were sprinkled everywhere. She didn't land on one.
I thought she was slowly setting us up to begin to understand that this loving father who has done everything to protect her has also been the major person who has isolated her and made her paranoid about other people, that the danger she imagines other vampires poses isn't so much real as it is Vincent who has isolated her because he wants to make her into his perfect weapon / daughter / ideal, but that's not actually what we're doing.
That would work really well though with the whole family thing, with how we'll get to it in a little bit, but she is a daughter figure. It would make sense that if he wants, like, he's like, I've had to kill, and it's told to us, he had to kill his own family. He had to kill a whole bunch of other people when he participated in these trials forever ago to claim the power he has now. And so it would make sense to me for him to want to control the one person he thinks he loves and that he wants to trust and he wants to be his right hand and everything. But then if that's the case, we should have had a bigger contrast between him distrusting other people and then, like, because then that could show the hungriness with which he wants her. As something that will never betray him. And if she knows somebody else and becomes and loves somebody else, then somebody else has her loyalty and he wants her pure loyalty. So, like, that would work great. And it's obviously what she kind of wanted. It just wasn't well done.
No, because then the arc becomes a betrayal of an entirely different kind.
Yeah.
To fit into the romantasy trope.
Where are we now? So
we're at the ball. Her and Vincent are dancing. She meets the cigarillo guy, who is the leader of the House of Blood, I think.
Yes.
And he's like being a bit creepy, and he's like, "Oh, do you think you have any chance to win?" She thinks he's gross, and she wants to get away, and suddenly Rain comes up, and he's like, "Oh, hello." What's the guy's name?
Ivan? I don't know.
God, I forgot he was a character.
It's like, "Hello, Mr. Blood." And it's clear that they know each other. And the Mr. Blood is like, "Oh, you guys have teamed up, right? Who am I gonna bet my money on in the end?" And he's being really sneaky and creepy, and you're like, okay, what's up with him? And Rain is basically like, "Do you want to ditch this party? It kind of sucks, doesn't it?" And she's like, yeah, I want to ditch this party. And now they go to have beer. Sorry, I have messed up my timeline. Now they go to a human bar and have beer.
I think they go twice.
Yeah, they do.
Oh,
this is their second beer stop.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
It really pisses me off. There's this much earlier scene that she actually meets the House of Blood guy, and she does take a box of cigarillos from him. It's because that's what Baba character used to smoke, and so it smells like her.
Ilana smelled like cigarette smoke.
And I like that, and I hate it when characters like smoke once and then it never comes up again, and it feels like a theme of some sort, like when they inherit, like the smoking role of their person that they died or something. Mm-hmm. But anyway, she smokes and she doesn't even cough. She doesn't hack. She just takes a big old lungful and then outs through her nose. I was like, nobody smokes out through their nose.
Girl, say you have never smoked without saying you have never smoked.
I know.
No.
Oh, I'm dead.
She's a cool girl. She's hardened. She can handle it.
And how funny would it have been if, like, oh, wait a second. Hold the fucking phone. Wait a moment. I just feel like this is a really dumb thing. I know it's small. But if she has the cigarillos from the House of Blood guy that he smokes personally, why wouldn't Rain have been like, where is that guy that usually smokes these cigarillos that is trying to, like, because the thing is, guys, we haven't gotten to this point, but there's plot behind the scenes of these two characters. And there's not one moment where he's like, so-and-so has been here. House of Blood man has been here. Where'd you get those cigarillos? Like, Howl's Moving Castle style? Like, who gave you that? And, like...
I mean, it is possible that they're just a common good, like, out and about, too.
No, I am against it. I am against... Oh, my God. I'm sorry. That really bothers me for some reason.
Yeah, there's just no continuous logic to this world, because vampires should have like a super heightened sense of smells. Even if she doesn't smoke in the apartment, he should be able to smell it on her later and be like, why have you been hanging out with that dude?
I mean, again, that would have just overcomplicated what she was already fumbling. But anyway, sorry. Sorry, that got me. That got my hackles up. Anyway, as you were saying, they do the show me the world.
Yeah, they go to the bar and she's like, "Are you sure?" But this is the second time they go there. But the first time, they basically had this big conversation about, "Are you sure you can go in there? It's a human bar. It's going to be filled with humans." And he's like, "Do you think I'm an animal?" And she's like, "Yeah, kind of." But now they go back to the bar, they drink beer, and he's like, "Something bothering you, princess?"
Oh, I hate that he called her princess. Ugh.
And she kind of opens up about Ilana, so that they can have a heart-to-heart and bond.
Have they visited Misha yet at this point?
No, they do it after.
Okay.
Uriah shows him Ilana's scarf. He comments on the scarf. He's like, "What's this around your neck?" And she's like, it's from a friend." And he's like, is she the one who, in the first trial? And she's like, "Yeah, that's her." He's like, "Oh, I should have known. It smells like the Palace of the Moon."
There it is. There's his smell. It's very, very...
Yeah, suddenly. She's like, "Oh, I hate that it would smell of that place. That place had nothing on her. She was so much more." And it feels like an assault. It feels like this one event has wiped out everything she is. I actually thought this whole passage was rather nice. Like, it was a bit sentimental. It was a bit sweet, and it kind of described how it feels when someone dies, because my nan recently passed away, And it just really resounded with me emotionally, because when someone dies, you think about their life as a kind of monument, and you want the picture to be all the good things. You don't want to remember the bad things. You want to remember everything that was beautiful about this person. And she gets really upset that the scarf would smell like the Palace of the Moon. But he's like, oh no, but it also smells of musk and cigarillos and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah. And then they go to see Misha. He's like, I'm gonna go see how she's doing. I'm gonna bring her some food. And Araya's like, oh.
Can I come? Not that I care, not that I like anyone or have,
yeah.
have friendly feelings for her, but I want to come.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, yeah, sure, princess. Let's go see Misha.
This scene reminded me so much of the scenes from Mass, where they go to the apartments and they meet up with all the what? Oh God, I should know this.
Oh yeah.
What are the oh, this is gonna kill me. The anime Nakama. The Nakama moment, where except for it's not really Nakama, I guess, but it's like where he walks in and there are people she doesn't know and they're like, sire. I mean, they don't say sire, but that's kind of the gist. They're like, yeah, we obey your command. And you're like, oh, who is he?
Yeah. Ryan's like, gee, I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, because they meet two of his friends or something in the door, and the friends kind of behave submissively. I'm Swedish, guys. I don't know English. I'm just making it up as I go. They act strangely submissively towards him, because they get very angry with Araya. There's like, what is she doing here? And it's not because she's human, but it's implied that it's because of Vincent. And he's like, it's okay. She's here as a friend. You're just gonna have to listen to me. And they're like, okay, fine. She's upstairs. You can go see her. And they go upstairs and they talk to Misha. And nothing of importance happens.
Not at all.
I was thinking about it, like, what do I have to say about this? Nothing.
Basically, it's just an excuse for Rain and Misha to be like, oh, we know each other so well. And then he goes downstairs to talk to his buddies. And Misha tells Araya that, oh, I'm so glad you came to see me, Araya. I'm so glad that Rain is taking care of you. He obviously likes you, you know. And I think you should take care of him too, because he needs someone. And Araya's like, what? Does he need someone? What does that mean?
The thing is I feel like the scene, I think this is what makes me so angry, is that there are these scenes and they seem pre-built for specific purposes, and then those purposes never come to fruition, because this scene is obviously built for the express purpose of two things. Number one is to tell you more about Misha. We were supposed to get in there. We were supposed to get some backstory. We were hooked. We were given the little bait of her backstory before, with her being turned, with her being fire god, fire god, patron saint person, whatever, where she can do fire magic. Why could she do fire magic? Was she a warrior of some sort before? Who exactly was she? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is this is the moment where we're supposed to be given that Misha trusts, even though none of this has been built up, but where Misha trusts a lot. I keep getting her name wrong. Araya. God, Lord help me. I'm so sorry. Anyway, Araya. And Araya's like, wow, this is an interesting part of the world I've never seen or heard about before. Let me drink up this moment of more human culture from another land or another spot. And that is like what's supposed to happen there. Then, of course, her second purpose is that you go downstairs and she tromps upon and she's like, aha, Sherlock Holmes moment. This guy is something more than what he seems. And that happens successfully, I suppose. And it's also to introduce these two other characters that are obviously going to become characters in the second book. It's as per the way things end, which we'll get to shortly. But like, there's a purpose here, but it doesn't fulfill it. And I don't understand why.
We're supposed to be baited to start thinking that there's something funky with the attack on the Moon Palace and with these people, that Rain is pretending that they are just old work colleagues. And she's like, that doesn't really make sense, because they act like they are subservient to him. They act like he's their commander or something. So we're supposed to kind of go like, oh, what does he have to do with the attack on the Moon Palace? Does he have anything to do with it? Has he been lying to Aurea this whole time, and he was actually involved with the attack?
It's not really relevant to what's happening right now. We don't learn that much about Misha. And I feel like it's hard to care about her as a character.
Misha doesn't matter.
She doesn't matter.
We went back to see her, and I thought that, okay, we're building her character, and she's gonna come back and be relevant.
I think she might be a main character in one of her like other books, honestly, like after this series.
Okay, so they have this visit. They do the fly bits where he's like, wow, most people are scared of flying, but you're not because you're special. And and what happens from here?
So is this the point where we realize that Nyaxia isn't giving them like the vampires any more blood, like all the vampires?
I think this is the part where it introduces that. Yes,
they get locked in the Palace of the Moon and starved. So by each day, Aurea is in more peril because the other vampires are getting more and more desperate for blood.
And Rain is like, don't worry, I've got plenty to get me to the next challenge. Don't even worry about it.
Don't worry about me. I'm gonna be fine. We're gonna barricade ourselves in this apartment and gonna play house, and we're just gonna endure until the next trial is. Something
it just occurred to me, actually. There's one exposition piece. I don't remember where it is. It's towards the beginning. It says to you, because I remember thinking, oh, that's interesting. Is it going to come up that Vincent eats other vampires or something? But there's this one part where they're like, yeah, like, you know, human blood is great, but they also can live off of, and it explains like how there's like horse blood, and horse blood is like flavored really nicely in the palace, so that way it's like enjoyed a little bit more, and that there's this blood and that blood and crow blood, which is bizarre to me, like how much blood could a crow have? But whatever, that's neither here nor there. But it says, and other vampires. So wait a moment. Why would they go after her in particular when they could just go after each other to not starve?
I thought it was a trial. I thought this was the trial, and the end goal was them to sort of pick off each other until the goddess is like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna let you out now. But no, we pretend like Aurea is the only person in danger here, and all the other vampires are the people posing the danger.
Yeah, wait, they could just like have a little snack on each other and everyone would be fine. What the heck?
I mean, wait, yeah, they don't have to even kill each other.
Yeah, they could just, it's snack time, you know?
Well, what is she eating? Because it's also been established that while vampires need blood to survive, they can kind of...
We don't know what she eats until the cooking scene.
Yeah, they can kind of nom on human food and sort of just stay alive a bit longer. It gives them something, even though it doesn't give them everything they need.
You just mentioned something too. You're right. He does cook. We have this.
Where does he get the ingredients?
That's what I was just going to ask. I'm sorry.
Because aren't they like locked in the palace? He didn't go out grocery shopping?
No, but he cooks something and she's like, wow, that's pretty good. And then they bring it to Misha or whatever.
Maybe Nyaxia was like, oh, I kind of want him to cook for her. That'd be cute. So they just open the fridge and it's like, oh, hey, some food.
Here's some noodles. Make her ramen.
As you can see, these things happen, and if you could forgive the other things, this makes it more so unforgivable. And
you have to read this book with horny blinders on. That's the only way you can do it.
Don't think, just read.
Wait, we were at the starving stuff. Then what
happens? They are
remember.
Starving, and Rain has been saying that, you know, he has enough blood to sustain himself. He's going to be fine. And then little by little, Aurea notices that he gets more and more reserved, and he's kind of off, like he's not really himself. And one day she makes a comment and he just barely reacts at all, and she's like,
and she's so stupid, she doesn't put the pieces together. She's like, oh, I wonder what that's about. Like,
yeah, girl. So she kind of sneaks on him, and then she sees him with a goblet that is almost entirely empty of blood, and he just kind of pours the last few drops into his mouth.
And then she's like, Oh.
I could never have figured this out on my own.
Oh, wait. Has he already cooked the meal for her where, like, she, like... I just have to talk about it. It's so funny.
Okay, please do.
Because, like, he cooks up... He's a really good cook. We've heard this before. She's like, a vampire being a good cook? That's crazy.
Of course, because he's got to be sexy and a good cook, because that's, like, human.
Mm-hmm. So he cooks, and he's like, here, try it. And she takes a bite of it, and she's like,
oh, I forgot
that's so good. And then he says, that's not how I imagined making you come for the first time. And then... and then she's like, first time. She like just brain completely blank. And I have to tell you guys, I told Lindbergh, like when you're reading the Kindle version, it's like 40,000 people have highlighted that.
It was so funny, and I can just imagine you highlighting that part, and then you're like 40,000 other people just did this.
Because like I was highlighting, it was like, this is really stupid, and then it was like, girls, are we okay?
You can see what the like other people have highlighted.
The most common highlights show up when you're reading a Kindle.
That is so funny.
It's so funny, especially in Romantasy. It's comedy gold.
Also, by the way, he does say that with no preamble whatsoever. There was no foreplay before this. There was no like, oh, I'm kind of interested. Let's like get hot and he just says it. He just says it.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, in what universe do you blurt something like that out? It's not even, like a slightly spicy joke, like, oh, is that your... I was like, he should have said, like, oh, is that what your face looks like when you come?
That's kind of the banter they've been having. Like, they'll make little innuendos, but it's usually like a...
Yeah, and that is like, I've been thinking about it, but it's not overt in that sense. And also, just for the record, I want to say that a man who cooks...
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't cook my own dinners. Like my husband... I should say this quietly. I don't want him to think I'm taking advantage of him. My husband cooks every single day for us, and I do nothing. I mean, I clean, but like, I definitely don't cook. And he's just like such a good, and he even over the years has been like, Katie doesn't like this because it's too spicy for her. And so he doesn't cook it anymore, which is so nice.
That is so sweet. Oh my
He specifically only makes certain kind of meats. Now he knows I don't like dark, because I grew up without dark meat. So he's like, oh, well, I love dark meat, but Katie doesn't love dark meat. So I'll
You're
just
so weird for that. Dark meat is delicious.
I objectively understand that, but I don't like the texture. I'm sorry. I grew up on chicken breast and like shake and bake stuff, American stuff.
After that, I think she's like, I have to go. And he's like, no, I'll go. So they like, she's in there like alone for one day. He leaves because like he could.
They have a fight. It's the fight scene where they sort of break up with each other because she's like, you're starving. You're a danger to me, and he's like, I'm not an animal, princess. I'm a human, and she's like, no, you're not. You're a vampire, and you haven't eaten in how long? Like, there's gonna come a time when the bloodlust just. You won't be you anymore. And he's like, fine, I've been selfish. You can't go, princess, I'll go, because that makes more sense.
You're really embodying the emotion in this moment. Yeah. I actually feel it.
We're supposed to feel it at this time. And if you think about it, it is, if we talk about compelling moments in this book up so far, there hasn't been that many, but this moment actually speaks to a kind of deeper conflict where he doesn't want to acknowledge that he isn't human anymore, and that it hurts his self-esteem to admit that he would ever hurt her. Just imagine how humiliating it would be if there was something like a disease or something that you could have that could drive you so insane that you hurt someone you care for.
But in the meantime, it's hurting you equally. It's just like a mental illness in a certain way, right? It could even have been a really interesting moniker for that. It's because, like, you're hurting yourself, but, like, then for somebody to accuse you of having the potential of hurt them, it's like there's like a menagerie of emotions that can go through you in that moment where you become really angry because you're like, how why are you only thinking from your side? You're being so selfish. Think about what I'm going through. But then also the idea that like, oh, you're right. Shoot, this is what I've been worried about this whole time and why I've been so angsty, but you're calling me right out for it and I feel disgusting for it. Like, there could have been a really fascinating scene there.
But you have to imagine it. It doesn't happen on page. So if you just imagine it, we're fine.
Like, after this, doesn't she just, like, she goes to bed and she wakes up and they're already in the next trial? Like, it's just, I feel like it's just immediately, like, go to bed, wake up, in the trial. So they're not even apart for, like, a day.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. She goes to bed and wakes up and the last trial has begun. And all the vampires are just crazy with bloodlust.
When do they have coitus?
After this trial. So, I remember this one because this is a horny trial.
Go ahead then, because I do not.
She wakes up in the trial. She's like looking around. She's like, okay, what's going on? There's like vampires going crazy, bloodlust. But there's like deer and like little forest creatures running around. And she's like, oh, that's like interesting. And like she sort of watches. It's nice for her because they're not all coming after her immediately. You'd think there would be because clearly she would smell better than them, but whatever. We're not going to talk about that. But she sees a vampire like, you know, like a drain, like a deer. And then he's like sick and like, dies. And she's like, oh, all of these animals are poisoned. Like these vampires are dying off like flies because they're eating. She's like, oh my God, I have to find Rain. He's going to kill himself eating one of these deer. So she's running around, she finds him, he's like crazy bloodlust mode, like about to like eat, and she just like slams into him. It's like running into a wall. You know, he's huge.
I've run into many walls. I know exactly.
She's like, this is stupid, he's really gonna hurt me, but she's like, snap out of it, man. And eventually he does. And he's like, oh my God. And like, but he like hurts her, he like nicks her.
He's like frenzied, and then he starts sniffing, and he's like, Maria? And that's what snaps him out of it.
Wait, so he uses his nose to sniff out Araya in front of him, but not the cigarillo smoke that might or may not be connected to the political nemesis he has.
No, we're horny. We're not thinking about that.
Right, I'm sorry. Horny.
Blinders. So he nicks her a little bit before he snaps into it. He's like, oh my God, did I do that to you? And he's just distraught over having like a nick drink. He's like, it's fine, you're okay. We gotta figure something out. And like they sit down in like a cove or a cave or some like little like nook because he's not okay. His wounds aren't healing because like he's too drained of blood. He can't go on like this. And Araya's like, well, there's only one thing we can do. You gotta do a little snack time. And he's like, no, absolutely not. And he has somehow like put together that she like probably has some kind of trauma. He sees the other little like bite marks from her little teenage non-consensual moment. And he's like, I can't do that to you. And she's like, you have to. And he's fine. So like she takes like, he gives her like a knife and he's like, kill me if I like go too far. So naturally she has to straddle him and like get all up in there on that wall of a man. And like she in her head she's thinking of all like the different places like he could like bite her for the best blood, but the neck's obviously the best one, and it's so sexy.
And inner thighs.
But she doesn't think about that. Oh no. This is the moment, I think this is the first time this is actually really mentioned in the book, but he's like, you might feel, and she's like, yeah, horny. Like, this is I don't think they mentioned it before this, that vampire, like, venom makes you horny. No. And I'm just like, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
At least, I guess we know why Ilana was screaming so early on the phone.
Oh,
but like, that also begs the question, like, when that creepy old man was, like, sucking from her wrist earlier, like, girlfriend, were you okay?
The author says that she was so repulsed by him that the effect didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it was more just like she just felt drugged. But I'm like, yeah, sure, that's what happened.
Tell yourself what you will. It's our first kind of spicy scene in the book. Like, so deep into the book.
For a romantasy? For what she obviously so badly wants to focus on, this is the time now when we finally get anything.
I'm not gonna lie, I really liked this scene when I first read it. I was like,
up until this point, I've been like, okay, so we're building to it. So when we do get it, it's gonna be really good. So I was, really ready for this scene and really ready to be horny.
I was disappointed this time. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of nice.
Yeah, I was like, hee hee. They're both like, she can feel his Broadbent, if you will.
Yeah, she's straddling him. She's sitting on his lap, turned towards him, and he's like sucking on her neck, and she has her dagger to his heart, and they start, rubbing things together.
Just dry humping, essentially. Our girl, finishes over the clothes. It's all very great. And
the author knows how to write a steamy scene. Despite the fact that I could have cared less what was happening in this moment, and I was kind of like, all right, my Sims are going to start making ceramics, and we're gonna glaze this. Oh, I need a glazer for the ceramics. Despite the fact that I was more involved with that than this in this moment, I was like, actually, this is kind of like, this is like, putting some butter in the pan for me, like it's sizzling a little.
I was feeling it. I was like, this is kind of hot.
I love vampire stuff so much. I was like, I don't remember the rest of the thing at all. After that scene was over, I was just like,
yeah, all my brain activity cut out when she came.
To be honest, the same with me though. Once she
White Woman Hour is going so well.
Once she had her fulfillment, I was just kind of like, wait, and then I blanked out. Do they even, when do they have sex?
Well, that's not till after the end of the trial.
Oh my god, what's the next trial?
This is the trial. I don't remember how it ends because I wasn't paying attention after this.
They fall asleep together, and the next morning they see that the capital city, Selene, has been destroyed.
Oh, okay.
And Vincent's army is out and tromping around, and they have killed all the humans that were in Selene. So the human district is now, dust. It's been leveled with the ground. And so they kind of race towards the finish line, because suddenly there's a finish line.
Once we got past that scene, I was like, I am not paying attention. You're gonna have to care.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the visuals. I just remember them running towards some place.
There might have been some kind of, was this the one with the smoke and that ash or something?
Yeah.
Something like that.
All I know is I just know that, so for those of you listeners, in summation, from my recollection, my very poorly because it's like baggage, it's like luggage, my luggage of all of this is, I know that they have really hot sex, and that it talks about stuff in that sex scene.
He's like, I made a list of things that I want to do, and they have sex. He's got the biggest Broadbent in the whole world.
Oh my god, love those biggest Broadbents.
Yeah, but wait. Before that, they run through the toxic mist, and they meet Angelica and Ivan, who are teamed up, and they throw Ivan off a cliff.
God, I don't remember any of this.
And that's how they get out of the trial, and then we go back to the apartment, and they're like, basically now we can no longer pretend like, we don't have the hots for each other. So, do you wanna just take my clothes off? And he's like, yeah. And then we get to hear how fantastically large his member is.
Yeah, and it's so big.
And then it's just smut chapters. They're not bad. They're not bad.
They're not bad at all. She should have stuck to what she was good at.
I know.
And she should have taken some of this stupid ass world building out that she doesn't do. It's not stupid, just it's unfulfilled. Take out all of this unfulfilled stuff. Focus. Do it again. Do a Dragon Actually. Focus only how little steps can we make from plot A to plot B without the smut. And then from there, you can build outwards if you want. But
I'm a girl, so, sex without commitment is kind of hard for me. So just make them do it early, and then they kind of go on,
work around
and just and just be competitors, but you feel this simmering energy between them the whole time.
See, that kind of angst would have been so much more interesting than just watching them sort of make eyes at each other and make stupid banter.
This is where I would like to just very, very succinctly as possible, just say this. My supposition to you, not supposition, that's not the right word. My offering to you, my creation for this that I lay upon its feet as sacrifice is this. I want our main character to actually be a beefy babe.
Yes.
Yes. And I want her to actually have been raised like a warrior princess, Xena style. And I want her to literally not allow people to get physically, she doesn't even know what it's like to have a hand massage. Like, she hasn't had that kind of endearment, that kind of closeness, that kind of physical intimacy. And so our male protagonist, no, he's not a wall. Actually, I'd like him to be skinny and like Asterion.
Waif 5'7" little waifish guy.
Yes. True Asterion. Like, and but he's cerebral. He knows about battle planning and stuff, and he reads books like Othello or something like that. And like, you know what I mean? And she comes along and he thinks she's just a brute of a human, and then she thinks he's just like a snake of a vampire.
No, she's the snake. Come on.
Exactly. But she's actually quite clever and he's actually quite a brute. And then you actually like find the opposites of each other. And she like, I'm telling you.
I would have loved that.
And if he had like that bitchy attitude where he was just like,
oh, yes,
please come at me. Like, I know that's completely different from what the author wrote.
It's not what the author wanted to do, but
also what the author wrote is meaningless. So it's not like
we can have our little headcanon. We can play with our little dolls.
They have the sexes and then they have the falling out.
So yeah, they're about to go to their the next trial. Instead of being 3 weeks away, surprise, it's tomorrow. You guys only have 1 day to have sex before you have to kill each other. That's so sad. So they have a whole bunch of sex, and then the next trial happens.
Before the trial, she goes to meet with Vincent one more time.
Right, you're right.
Yeah.
And confronts him about destroying Salinae.
Which is because that's where her family was. That's where he found her when she was...
Yeah, because all this time, she has kind of harbored the hope that one day, when she is big and strong and powerful, she's going to be able to go back without fear of getting vampired. And she's going to seek out her family. So she seeks out Vincent instead, and she's like, how could you destroy that when you knew there was a chance my family was still there, and you just took that from me? And they kind of have a fight about her being human, and he trying to make her more vampirish. And there's also this shocking scene where he kind of opens the door, and in the back his warriors are just kind of having a weird blood orgy, eating people.
Yeah, like the blood orgy feast.
And he's like, how do you think I motivate them to do anything?
It's so stupid that she, like, for some reason didn't think this was happening the whole time.
Also, why wouldn't she think that he was doing this? Like,
she's so naive.
Well, she also told us, the readers, as her first-person perspective, she knows. Like, there was this whole moment where he's, annihilated this one town, and he's like, she's thinking to herself, this is not Vincent the father, this is Vincent the king, and the king has had to do all these things to get where he's at, and that totally makes sense to me as his daughter because that's the way he raised me, so I really empathize with him as the king in this moment. And I'm like, okay, so then why did he even... Like, she didn't know any of this. She literally says at another point, too, at the very end, after a whole bunch of other stuff, that she's like, I know the ins and outs of these walls. I have crawled through the crevices here and gone to the kitchens and to the back places. And I'm like, okay, well, if you have, why didn't you know this was happening?
I don't get it. Like, her shock in that moment, I was like, why? Why wouldn't this be happening?
Like, there is no way the author can sell it to us and in a way that makes us believe it, because the only way she could not have thought about this is because she is willfully ignorant all this time.
If they used Vincent better and, like, the gaslighting sort of, like, narrative better, this could have worked.
Yeah, if we had seen him lie to her more and sort of wrap her in this cottony idea that, oh no, all their blood is ethically sourced and, so on, then this would have some kind of impact. But at this time, we knew what was happening, Vincent knew what was happening, Araya knew what was happening, she just didn't want to think about it.
She's like, he loves me, and like, he's not perfect, but he has to be the king, and it's exhausting being in her head. It's like so exhausting.
And that takes a lot of emotional power from you as the reader to have to just deal with just reading the exposition of. So that way you honestly really, what little tries to strum your heartstrings doesn't ever pick a chord. So it's just kind of like, okay, I guess we're here now.
An attempt was made and it didn't entirely succeed.
Yeah, they have that whole scene where he's like, this is the monster side of things. I suck. Mm-hmm. Don't you hate
and
me?
This is the way the world is. And she's like, oh my god, my daddy is evil.
And like he gets frustrated with her at one point in this scene, and like it like has to kind of restrain her because she's like getting really pissed off at him. And like he hurts her, like he like grabs her wrist too hard and she gets like a bruise, and he's like, oh my god, I hurt my daughter. Oh, it's so dramatic. And I don't remember exactly how the scene ends, but he's just like
he like is aghast at himself, and then he like whirls away.
Yeah, Vincent the father comes back for a second, and then he
At this point, I was like, the arc is gonna be that she's gonna have to confront what her father is, and in order to change things, she's gonna have to slay him.
Yeah, but what happens next, guys?
We go to the next challenge or trial.
Wait, she goes back to the apartment. She goes out and kills more vampires because she's angry now. I don't know where these vampires are since the human district has been destroyed. She finds vampires and kills them. And then her and Rain do this final sexy. And they basically talk to each other like, oh, this is it. This is the end. Next time we see each other, it's you or me.
The next day is the next trial.
This trial is just like all the other ones. Basically, they have to kill each other. Everything's made up and the points don't matter.
It's like a reenactment of some old myth with the gods, and at some point Oriah realizes, oh, they're like sort of these aren't actual gods. These are like the reanimated corpses of all of the like dead like opponents that we've had in this battle or something. It's kind of interesting.
I thought this was the messiest of all her writing, though, at the same time. Like, this would perhaps it might have been cool, but it's like, yeah, like Val's saying, like, it's like they are representative, but by being representatives, they are also like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not icons.
Like avatars or?
Avatars, yeah. It's basically, yeah. But they're like the avatars, and I'm like, wait, that's a lot of power. Are these gods actually coming down? And
I think it's like a stage play more than anything, honestly.
That's the way it kind of plays itself. And I would have thought, wow, wait a second. If you're going to go to the trouble of explaining to us that there's a whole pantheon of other gods and stuff like that, first of all, you should have really premised a lot more. But also, if you're going to use them during these moments, then it seems like they're pretty important for whatever it is you're trying to tell us as readers. So this is the moment where we're going to get dialogue towards that, and no.
It's just a fight of gods that don't actually matter. And like it's like I said, like I like the idea of this, of like all of these like tournaments sort of being reflections of Nyaxia's life. It's so interesting to me. It could be so cool, but it's just
it's
not.
Like
if they actually told a story about Nyaxia.
Yeah, and we get little snippets of it, but it doesn't really matter in terms of like the actual narrative, because we're here to be horny. We're not here to like learn about the death gods.
Yeah, like, we're not building an arc for the goddess to kind of figure out who she is.
Again, there's not enough sex to warrant that excuse.
I know, exactly. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, just more sex, please. Less all of this other nonsense.
Or if you're gonna do it well.
I remember she fights. She
Ibrahim,
succeeds.
Her. They have their final fight. There's this meaningful relationship. All their encounters. All those.
Ibrahim is like, he's gonna throw down his daggers. He's like, oh, I've already lost against you. But symbolically, she's like, no, you're gonna go down fighting, goddammit, because you're human and you have pride.
Yes,
he's like,
right.
yeah,
anti-ableism. Woo!
He is the token disabled person that the white person gets to.
That's true, actually.
It's kind of patronize just to make themselves look better before they kill them.
She has to kill him, and so right before she puts her blade in his chest, she's like, I'm glad it was you, and then she kills him, and he's dead.
Yeah, that's when he says
there
that,
we go.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she meets Angelica.
Hot blonde lady who's been there and not important, really, this whole time.
Yeah, and Angelica has blood magic, so she has kind of tried to stay out of her way, because blood magic works that if they can get a prick of your blood, they can use that to control your body. Angelica blood magics Oriah, and Oriah tries to fight it, and at the same time there's this other other commotion going on because Rain is in the vicinity fighting against his own people. And just as it seems like Angelica is gonna kill Rhea, Rain does something and Angelica just stops.
Yeah, he makes eye contact with somebody in the audience and then she just stops.
Yeah, so Rhea kills Angelica and it's time for them to have their final showdown, their final fight.
Just the two of them.
Yeah, and this is where we're going into it. Like, there's no way they're gonna kill each other, right? Because this is a romantasy. But they do. They fight. They fight, and at some point they kind of end up in a clinch, because that always happens in films and in books, but not in... It's not actually good fighting. But anyway, they end up in a clinch, and Rain kind of does something, and she's like, I could have sworn that he helped me drive my dagger into his heart. Almost. It's like he had a chance to beat me, and then he chose to die.
And so
she wins.
And Rain is dead.
And suddenly the goddess appears. What does the goddess look like? I have no idea.
No idea what she looks like, guys.
She was beautiful and great.
Some of the descriptions I thought were kind of interesting. Just like the way like she described like as an event instead of a person. I thought it was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. But Araya was very like affected by her. She was like, I would do anything Death Mommy tells me to do right now. She's so cool. And I'm like, hell yeah. Oh, Araya, you're so stupid. Do you want to do this one?
I'll be honest, I don't actually remember much of what happened.
Wait, Val, would you like to?
Sure. So they talk for a while. Nyaxia is like, oh, you lost a lover. I've lost a lover. She's like, oh, that's so sad. And they have this, like, a little, like, back and forth, and, like, for, like, just sort of vague god, like, conversations. She's like, so what do you want, my child? And she's, like, so heartbroken. Like, just so utterly destroyed with grief over, like, killing Rain, that she just loses every single brain cell that she has in her body and says, I wish Rain had won. Not, I wish Rain was alive.
This is dumb.
No, I wish Rain had won. So she fucks over her dad, who the whole point was to make this bond with him so she could be strong. So, like, that dream is dead. You went through all this for nothing. You gave up, you know. So now Rain gets his... She does not know what Rain is planning to do. She's never asked him what his wish from the goddess was going to be.
Yeah, and even the goddess is kind of baffled. She's like,
are you sure? Really?
You know, a dead lover can't betray you. She's like, no, I'm sure.
Could that be foreshadowing for, like, a paragraph later? I don't know.
I know.
Oh, Ray, you dumb bitch.
So he resuscitates.
Yeah, so he kind of flies up and there's a light in his chest and he revives.
And he's like, what did you do? And she's like, you're alive. I'm so happy. I just have love. All I care about is love now because I have sex one time and it's so good. And he's like, you're so dumb. And then he yeets over to her shadow father, Vincent, starts attacking him and kills him.
Wait, before that, he since he is now the victor, he gets to make a wish. So he says,
"Oh right,
I wish the power of the Rishan,
the feather
becomes become unsealed and restored to their heir." And suddenly,
he is evolving into hotter.
A mark shows up on him. And his wings come out and they have feathers because he is the Rishan's heir.
Oh my gosh.
Which means that all this time when he has pretended like he is just a turned human, he has no alliance to anyone, and he's told this really traumatic backstory where he was like, yeah, I was turned by a really powerful vampire who then used me as a sex slave.
A la vampire, Anne Rice, you know.
Yeah, you know, the homoerotic sort of, so tragic, so deep. What he failed to mention this whole time was that the powerful vampire who had turned him was the Rishan ruler. And when Vincent eradicated all the Rishan, he killed all the born Rishan vampires until finally the succession got passed on to Rain. And he has known that this entire time.
And Araya is just watching like, huh?
We needed this to happen because it's hot if her romantic interest is a king, especially if he's a reluctant king. And he's got all the hot powers, and like he gets the cool tattoo.
And now we can do enemies to lovers again in book 2, you guys.
I read that bit and I just screamed, "Are you fucking kidding me? How did I go this entire book not crossing off the love interest is actually secretly a slave / royal and then have to do it now?"
So that happens and she loses everything.
And then he attacks Vincent.
After he stabs and like kills Vincent, her only person in this world who like, you know, she has anymore.
Loved her.
Yeah. Rain is like, all right, fellow Feather Wings, they all want to kill her, and he's like, no, we're not going to kill her. I'm going to make her my bride, and I'm going to treat her really, really badly.
I'm going to marry her, and I'm going to force her into all the humiliating sex.
And, like, Araya is just like,
what the fuck? Because he starts talking. You guys, he starts talking like he's like a swashbuckling pirate who's gonna ravish the maiden. And he's just like, "Hardy mateys, I'm going to ravish this your blushing bride. So that way she suffers, just like you all want her to suffer." And it's like, there is no personal...
Yeah, just like the old queen suffered before she died, implying that Vincent raped their old queen. And they're like, fuck her,
humiliating sex.
And I was like, okay, is this where it's getting really spicy?
Like, what? And she gets locked into a room, her old room, might I add.
Yeah, in her old castle, which, yeah.
Yeah, and she gets locked in there, and
I wonder if someone cleaned it.
maybe, who knows? Maybe it's the same tribe. Anyway, we get this scene where he like sits and has a heart-to-heart with her in her old room about like, this is the only way I could protect you. We have to be married. That's the only way I can protect you. I didn't want this, but I had to have it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he was like, I was ready to let you win. I was ready to let you have your life.
It's all your fault. Yeah. More gaslighting. And so he leaves her for a little bit. And she's like, and he locked it. And I was like, so she's a prisoner. And I was like, where the fuck could she possibly go? But that's fine. That's cool. You're going to lock her in a room. That's not infantilizing. But then Jezzanine, or whatever the heck her name is, the general chick, is like climbing the walls to her room.
Up the
and
walls.
is like, my queen, how can I serve you?
I'm like, oh, the big titty bitch I hated before is actually loyal to me now.
Dude, when this happened, I was in the Home Depot parking lot. I had just been looking at flowers, thinking, I really want to buy flowers for my front porch, but I'm not rich enough to pay for flowers. So I got back in my car and I was listening to this and I was depressed and I was just like, are you fucking serious? Are you serious right now? There have been no politics so far at all. None of the politics has been explained. And yet in this moment, it is obviously switching to a political narrative because it's like, tell us what your first order is. And she's like, well, what would you recommend? And she's like, this, and that about political structures and different factions and stuff like that. And you're like, oh my God, why would you try to tackle this in the next book? You're obviously going to want to cover this in the next book, and that's how you're going to go through the enemies to lovers route.
Honey, dear, you're good at writing sex scenes. Stick in your lane.
It boggled my mind that she would even attempt to try to have this kind of... Because, you know what? It reminded me of this story called The Godstone, I think, or it's something like that. And it's a girl, it's Hispanic in tone, and it's a fantasy world, and she has this stone in her belly button, and it's called the Godstone. And I know, right? So silly premise.
Yeah, but I heard of that. Mm-hmm.
But it's actually from my memory, incredibly well written, because the romance is between her and this older man who's her Kingsguard type of thing, or Queensguard, and they don't even have like a romance until 3 books in. So it's like a super slow burn. And it's so well written because it has that same cliffhanger after the first book where it's like, you are now in charge of things you weren't in charge of before, and you now have responsibility. And it's like, for that book, it made sense. She was premised with that. For this book, Vincent, it was never once mentioned that she understood anything about ruling, and yet now she's gonna rule in the second book, and it's like, that's the way it's being left.
Weird choice.
Just keep her a sex slave, I guess, at that point, like, make her like an assassin sex slave lady.
I read the second book. I barely remember it because I was just like, I just like, after that, like after what happened, I was like, I just have to know what happens next.
That's how I feel. I'm gonna have to read it. Yeah.
You will have to tell me, / we're gonna have to do a second version of this fucking video.
Listen, I would do it. I was telling Lindbergh I would.
Ladies, we're at almost 3 hours.
I know.
We'll wrap this up.
We'll wrap it up. The last bit, I think, is just like he does a little marriage ceremony in his room, and it's so nice because like when they're doing the vows, she doesn't want to say that she gives him her heart, and he's like, don't worry, you don't have to say that. You can keep that part. You just have to give me everything else.
Yes.
Like, oh, wow, he is still a good guy, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. That was a really good comment, actually. That's
The book ends with him being like, are you gonna kill me, princess? And she says, not tonight. Fade to black. Well, I just slapped myself. That's so funny.
And then before that, they figure out that Oriah is probably half human and half vampire. And that's how she could be Vincent's heir.
Yeah, we forgot the big reveal that she's actually...
Vincent was her real father the whole time.
Matter.
There's no proof for this. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest this other than the fact that, like, it just seems like it's the case. But yeah, apparently she just may be partial vampire. And then we come into the question of, I'm sorry, you never discussed hybrids. You never gave us any, and then it just leaves you on that note, which actually wouldn't be a horrible note to leave on if not for the 100,000 other issues in this novel.
It is, in fact, confirmed that Vincent is her real father.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they kind of say that. And if he wasn't her father, there's no reason for the bond or the ascendancy to pass to her automatically because he didn't designate her as heir. It just happened.
It could have been interesting. There's so much, like, I feel like there's a lot of potential with that relationship.
I want you to think of how fun the concept of muscle mommy is.
I love that so much.
If our main protagonist was actually like a berserker, like as a la berserk mode type of thing, born to this blood, was never meant to live in it. Sorry, that was from Daddy Fat Snaps, who's a rapper, and did a rap song for Berserk, and it's really good. It's great. It's called Berserk Guts. Anyway, but having like a berserker female, and have her father be this pretty boy who's trained her how to be like as strong and cutthroat as possible, which is basically what was told to us, except for this is the way somebody would most likely, one of many ways, but I feel a fresher way somebody might turn out from that kind of conditioning.
Yeah, we don't need any more waifish, tiny little girls who are warriors. We need beefy, stocky, strong ladies.
Imagine if Muscle Mommy protagonist in the confrontation scene with Victor had been like, no, it's all you vampires that are the problem. And it's just like, that
would have been so cool.
Yes!
Yeah.
Give it to me. No.
I'm so sorry I made you guys read this. Thank you for going on this journey with me.
It wasn't the worst.
It's not the worst romantasy, honestly. It really isn't.
I've read romantasy. I thought it was quite decent. I'm just gonna say it. Sue me.
No, she's a very competent writer. She's not a competent storyteller yet.
No, and she has these little snippets of good world building, but she just like does not flesh them out. Paper thin, like ugh. It's frustrating.
I think that's pretty solid. You ladies did a great job recounting everything as I slowly dipped darker and darker into the in the darkness of the day.
That is so funny.
It got darker. in the room and my light's on, but it doesn't matter. It's just really dark.
It's the vampire theme. It's okay.
You're just reflecting the emotional journey we went through.
I think we did pretty well. It went long, but I think we stayed mostly on track.
Okay, so final words. Guys, if you have made it all the way through this really rambly review of the book, drop your bat emojis in the comments.
Yes.
So we know you're here. And
fangs and little blood droplets and maybe something spicy if you can find it.
And if you think she should stab Rain in the nutsack in the sequel, say it. Just say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us know if you want us to do the sequel. We'll suffer for fun, maybe.
I would love to do that with you too, ladies. It's because honestly, it's kind of it's so easy to rip apart. Like, it's just...
I would love to read the second one again. It's so messy. This has been White Woman Hour on Unresolved Sexual Tension. Join the Patreon.
Thank you, ladies, for bringing that up on your end of things. Yes, please join the Patreon, everyone.
All right. We love you, our parasocial darlings.
Bye.